it immediately puts the target on your back. Everybody knows they got to shoot for you. So I want to win 2 in a row.
Hey guys, we're live. We're doing this again. What's going on, everybody? Hope you are well. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It is Monday, November 8th, 2021. And of course, we're back with the DI Ride Along. Tonight we are checking out, I don't even know what episode we're on, T, but this is the 5th episode of the Drag Illustrated Ride Along. I'm getting a ton of background noise from one of you guys. Somebody's got it turned.
Yeah, I hear it. I hear it too.
Here, let me test everybody. It's JT.
That's not, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I muted you.
I don't have anything on in here, so it's not me.
It's definitely, well, Lyle, quick to escape controversy here. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, every Monday night we come on here and join you, the World Wide Web, and we catch up on the latest episode of No Prep Kings, Street Outlaws, No Prep Kings, Season 4. I think it goes without saying at this stage in the game, No Prep Kings has kind of elevated its status in the drag racing industry, and it's fun every week to check out the show and do it with some of the biggest names in the industry. To my left, you will see the one and only Top Fuel superstar, the man, the myth, the legend, perhaps one of the greatest drag racing drivers of all time, Clay Millican. Right below him, the latest, the greatest, the newfound Pro Mod phenom himself, Lyle Barnett. 2 E3 Spark Plugs NHRA Pro Mod Drag Racing Series wins here in 2021.
Not bad.
Pretty good, you know.
Has anybody who's won 2 in their first season? That's actually a great question. I wonder if there's anybody in the comments that would have those stats.
Who was statistical genius?
Josh.
No, that was on a couple. I was on with him last week. Oh my God. Y'all just had him on the Wes Buck show last week.
Josh Hatchett.
No.
Josh Hatchett.
Yeah.
No.
Elon.
There he is.
Oh, Elon Warner. Yeah.
Yep. He'd probably know.
Josh, any idea how many drivers have won?
So if I remember right, I think Jose and I were the only multi-race winners this year. Obviously, Jose won like 5 or 6, but I think we're the only ones that were multi-race winners this year. I think
Mikey Ouellette is saying that Stevie Jackson may have. I think that's probably right. He was the only one I could come up with, to be totally honest.
Yeah, I'm not sure at all.
Sam Smith in the house. What's going on, Sam? What's going on, Kevin Stevenson? Hey, again, I want to tell you guys how much we appreciate you being a part of this. Honestly, it's fun to have Clay. It's fun to have Lyle. Obviously, it's fun to have JT. He is fun. But the real difference maker on these shows, not only our Wednesday show, but this Monday night show, 100% your involvement. So if you've got something to say, you got a question to ask anybody here on the panel, please let us know. I do anticipate being joined by Disco Dean Karns here in just a little bit. Dean was slinging tint when I talked to him. He was tinting windows, and he said as soon as he got caught up, the Tent King himself, as soon as he got caught up, he would join us here on the show. So I hope to hear from Dean in just a little bitty bit. Jeff Dobell checking in from Australia. JT, catch me up on the show real quick. Where are we at on some No Prep Kings?
Well, I don't know. We've all watched them together.
Well, I thought maybe you could give us a little bit of a synopsis.
Not really.
I guess not.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise, I tee it up for you, and I thought you would deliver us the goods. I think it's been a really interesting season
we watched
so
Darlington,
far.
So yeah, right.
Yeah, we watched Lizzie crash. We're actually getting a little bit of a replay right here.
We watched a proposal.
We watched a proposal. I thought last week's episode was really, really well done. They've all been good. The production value is always on par with these deals, but I do think it was kind of an especially good episode. I think what it is, and I actually mentioned this to Clay before we were on the show in the green room, I think personally it's because it's a familiar venue. Not that all these tracks aren't relatively familiar, but when you see Darlington, it's just it's Darlington. For those of us that are like hardcore drag racing aficionados, students of the game, lifelong participants, tracks like Darlington are like forever etched in our minds, and I think I kind of felt the same way watching a little bit of the Cordova stuff from the Team Attack show here just a minute ago. So really, it's cool to see. I think that if there's anything that I especially appreciate about what's going on with No Prep Kings is it's the injection of energy to so many of these little kind of Saturday night racetracks that don't get an NHRA national event. Do you agree, Clay?
Oh, 100%. I mean, and it doesn't even have to be a NPK show that is, full of production, this, that, and other. I mean, earlier this year, I went to Bahia Raceway in Bahia, Mississippi, and Sean and Ryan and
That's how you say that?
Bahia, yeah.
Oh, wow.
How'd you say it, Lyle?
We're not going to repeat that because I would have butchered it. If you'd have asked all of us, before you said that, if you'd have asked all of us how we would pronounce that, there's no way any of the three of us would have gotten that right, ever.
Well, I
think I would have called it like Bahala. Maybe?
Bahala.
Maybe. I mean, that's the way it looks.
I had to correct Phantom. Y'all know Phantom that works with Sean, a.k.a. Murder Nova. I had to correct him when we got down there because, he was doing the YouTube thing. And I forgot exactly how he said it, but Bahala sounds pretty close. And I'm like, no, it's Bahia. But, I mean, even that racetrack, they go to the little tracks like that, around. And it's great for those racetracks, and the fans come out. And we've had this conversation before. We get so wound up in the scoreboards. But at events like that and No Prep Kings, nobody cares. It's who won, who lost. That's it.
I think it's a difference maker, man. I mean, I've for a long time, it's just felt like there needed to be something that could come into these big tracks. To your point, Clay, not even when it's the television production, but just this cast of characters, so to speak, coming in for a freaking match race or some sort of no prep shootout, whatever the case. When you're able to sell those tickets and get that many people in the stands and have that kind of business at your concession stand, it just makes such a big difference. I mean, for the longest time, most drag strips had like one or two, either an NHRA national event or a holiday weekend that they could kind of look forward to as something that would pad the bank account a little bit and make some money. Now, with No Prep Kings popping up all over the country and these other no prep races, I mean, there's a lot of options for racetracks as far as like doing something that's going to draw fans.
100%. I agree with that. I mean, and then you got a guy like Lyle showing up with beer money and just cleaning house, and taking money all over the place. Yeah. Those events look fun too.
That thing's like a mangy. That thing's like a mangy dog that you bring to the one of those long jump competitions in the water. You get him up there with a limp leg, and then all of a sudden you give him a little smack on the tail, and all of a sudden he flies 40 feet out in the water. And what the fuck just happened?
Real quick, JT, I want you to punch me as hard as you can. Why didn't I call Mike Bowman to be on the show tonight?
Call him right now. Just send him the link.
I know.
If he hops on, he hops on.
It's we'll have Mike on next Monday because I want to have the opportunity to promote it. Mike is great on camera, and I believe Mike's got a fan following as well. I mean, of course, he won the biggest pro mod race in the world, the Drag Illustrated World Series of Pro Mod. He's a god most places he goes. I mean, it's unbelievable.
I'll agree with that.
But I would like to have the opportunity to promote him coming on the show a little bit, to be honest. And Dave Pearson saying this is better than the actual show. Thank you for that. It means a lot. There was a couple of questions here. One real quick. Scott Malpass watches every week. Thank you so much, Scott, for being here. He asks, how's the back? Go back for a surgery consultation in about a month, my man. I've got a herniated disc in my low back, but Clay has actually had this injury and had the surgery and was back driving a race car in short order.
7 days.
7 days.
Really?
So
yeah.
I'm kind of wrapping my head around it. I'll be honest. I literally was laying on a bag of ice. Like I'm a little bit out of it right now. I've been laying on a bag of ice in my living room for the last hour and a half, and about dozed off, but it's better. It's the best it's been in 2 or 3 weeks. Part of it is I've been trying not to let myself sit down at all. I've been working like at a stand-up desk and just trying. It seems like if I sit like on a show like this for very long at all, that's immediate back issues if I sit for very long. So
my back hurt a little bit. I guess it was Saturday morning. I closed the bar down. And I went outside and the cop drove by. I thought, man, I don't think I'm going to drive right now. So I just climbed in the back seat of the truck, took a little nap, woke up at 5:30 frozen.
JT,
my wife
make
is so
life
proud
worth
of
living.
me, man.
Yeah, I bet she is.
I didn't drive.
Oh, JT. Oh, buddy. I love you, man.
Traded a DUI for frostbite.
That's right. I woke up, I was laying on my arm back there, and I couldn't even move my hand. It was something else. And then all morning, all Saturday morning, I'm just shivering. You just can't get warmed up.
I figured knowing you would have just left the truck running.
Well, yeah, I should have, evidently. Yeah. So, man.
Who here thinks Ben Burke? Check this question. Interesting question for the theme of the show. Ben Burke asked, "Who thinks Stevie Fast has the fastest door car in the world?" I think he's in the hunt as far as the Shadow 2.0 right now in Outlaw. I mean, based on what I saw at the Texas Motorplex during the Texas Stampede of Speed. I don't know if you were there yet. Monday night, Tuesday night, Clay.
I wasn't.
Tuesday night, there was an undisclosed amount of money. I told $140,000 collectively amongst the two betting parties. It was Stevie Fast Jackson going heads up against Bubba Stanton, Mississippi's own. Speaking of Mississippi, Bubba Stanton, Mississippi's own Bubba Stanton. And no one saw the elapsed times. No one knows what the cars ran. But from what I heard, it was world record ET category, which means quicker than 3:48 in the 8th mile. So I think Stevie's in the hunt. Clay, Lyle, Lyle, you're super tuned into the door slammer world. Like, no rules, no holds barred. Who do you think owns currently the baddest door car on the planet Earth?
I think it's still Frankie Taylor. I wasn't told.
He's not afraid of a race.
I wasn't told anything from the Stampede of Speed. I have no idea what those guys ran. I know that apparently the race was within a thou at the finish line, like super close. But I still think, I feel like, I know for me, if I took the Jason Digby Dodge Dart in this photo right up here and we went out and went 399 on leaf springs at a no time event, you would know it immediately. Like, I would blast it all over the internet, so I feel like if that would have happened, you would know it. I don't know that for sure, but
that's a pretty good point.
I still think Frankie Taylor is still the baddest man in a door car.
I was, interestingly enough, at the Texas Stampede of Speed, he damn near demonstrated that, because he wasn't involved Monday night in like this kind of sideline drag race, but there was a 25,000 to win, no holds barred pro mod race on Tuesday night, which another cool thing that the Motorplex, Andy Carter, Billy Meyer, Christy Meyer, everybody out there kind of pulled out of their hind end. Every night there was something cool going on. And Tuesday night, Frankie Taylor ran. Did he run Stevie Fast or did he run Bubba? I can't remember. He ran somebody for 10 grand, and then he also was in the Pro Mod race. And it first pass that they'd made in however long, and it went like 867 or something down low and 354, I think. And he told me, he goes, that's like the second pass we've made in like no rules trim in a long time. Give us a little bit. I do think that Frankie's probably got, and what's interesting, and I'm not trying to, create a narrative that they don't have good stuff, but that's probably a blower belt that's got 610 runs on it. That's probably a blower that hasn't been freshened up in a decade. You know what I mean?
Slicks he pulled out of a dumpster.
Some slicks he pulled out of a dumpster.
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
That C rotor probably came over on the Mayflower.
Yes.
Frankie's like, oh yeah, it still turns. Bolt it on. Use a ratchet strap.
It's but you know what? This is a great little bit of a little bit of a segue, because you talk about the performance of that car and how it seems effortless. I point almost all that to an unlimited overdrive screw blower. How what's your take, Lyle, on the news that came out Friday that screw blowers were going to be allowed into NHRA Pro Mod for 2022?
Thumbs down.
I saw your comment. I knew you weren't in favor of it. I saw it on social.
And I actually had lunch with Todd Tutterow today. We rewired his car. And he is like, him and Ty picked it up. They're going to the shop, throwing it together, and headed to Orlando.
Tell people who you're talking about when you say we, in case they don't know.
At Modern Racing.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Modern Racing. I shouldn't say we, because I didn't do a damn thing, but Modern Racing and the guys in the wiring department completely rewired Tutterow's car, put fuel tech on it, just to manage, it's still mechanical injection, but just to manage the the timing and whatnot, and then also lean outs and whatnot that goes along with that weird fuel system that all you mechanical guys run. But we went to lunch and that question came up, and even Todd was like, ain't no way in hell that I would take a screw blown car at 75 over with a 390 rear gear at 2,700 and some odd pounds. He said there's no way. So I don't think you'll see any of those. If you do, it's just because somebody's got it and they're already kind of in that general vicinity, as far as maybe they've got a heavy car, they already had a 390 rear gear or whatever, and they just want to come run with us. But according to Todd, who I would trust his opinion, he seems to think that combo with that particular rule set, and they're spec that, got to run a 390, got to be 75 over, got to weigh 2,740 pounds or something. He doesn't think there's any way they'll be competitive. But even if they did give them something, we had a meeting in my pit in Indy, and not a single person there voted for the screw blower, not zero. And then here we are. I think they do a fairly good job with what they're, with the personnel they've got, but they have a hard time teching the combos that we have right now. So I think adding something else, not a good move. Stevie would tell you the exact same thing if you called him tonight. I don't think you're going to see any, so it's probably not something we're going to have to worry about. Now, that's not to say that they won't start giving them overdrive or pulling weight off or whatever.
Yeah, but and JT's dad's in the house, my father-in-law. What's up?
Yep.
Richard. Man, it's a very interesting thing, Lyle, because so people that, maybe don't know, and to inform the panel, but basically the NHRA announced via a rule amendment to the E3 Spark Plugs NHRA Pro Mod Drag Racing Series presented by J&A Service rule book that states screw type superchargers are no longer prohibited from competition in the category. You'll be able to run a screw blower at 75 over, 2,740 pounds with a mandatory 3.90 rear gear, which anybody who knows anything about Outlaw, 8th Mile, Pro Mod drag racing with screw blowers knows that those cars are running 514 or better rear gear. Running those cars in the quarter mile with a 390. I've heard, Lyle, to your point, high 580s is about the best that combination could run. And what's weird about the whole situation to me is why you would, if there was a belief system like Lyle has that we're not going to get anybody to show up with one next year, why bother? I would never make a rule that I didn't feel would result in something, hey, what are we doing? What are we making this rule for? My thought would be we're making this rule to try to get cars, or because there's a handful of cars that have expressed interest. If you read the rules, Lyle, with the inclusion of the 1949 to 50 Mercury body style being considered for the weight break, it looked to me like hey, Craig Sullivan. Hey, Craig Sullivan.
Come on over here.
Could you come race with us?
Come over here, boy.
We could have called, but we decided that we were just going to rewrite the rules and see if you noticed. That's how it felt.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going, and that's great. I would love to see Craig Sullivan in NHRA trim. But I don't think that's likely, just being honest. Maybe once when it's in his backyard in Indy. But I cannot identify, and Todd Tutterow and Kurt Stedding, to be honest, were the only people on the planet Earth that I could identify as potential candidates. And they're not doing it.
Well, and clearly they didn't. At their disposal, they had names just like you just dropped to ask and confide in when making this rule set, right? And obviously didn't do it. Maybe they
opens up a can of worms and for nothing.
But it's like they did the opposite of what they did with the Pro Charger, right? They let the Pro Charger in, just bring them out here, boys, and let the big ones hang out your pants. Run them to the front. They just donkey stomp people all over the place, and then the next thing you know, it's $100,000 hits at a time trying to reel them back in. And now everybody's up in arms. Finally, we feel like we're close, right? We went to the semifinals in Dallas, and we had a Roots blower, a Pro Charger, me in the turbo car, and a nitrous car left. We've done it, right? We have finally gotten there. We go to we go to Bristol. I didn't run very well, but a Roots blower won. Jose goes red and JR wins. And then we go to Vegas and, we won in the turbo car again. And I didn't outrun everybody. We just outraced them. And then here we go with there's other things that we collectively as a pro mod group feel like should have been addressed. And they bring the screw blower in. It's like, what?
It's weird, man. Whatever. It's weird. There's a couple of things that I think are worth talking about along those the lines of the thing that I'm wondering about is, Luis Chiprez is asking, are screw blowers that overpowered? There's a lot of there's a slew of things we can talk about.
Yeah.
Typically, I always tell people that a screw blower is like bolting on 1,000 horsepower, no matter what, like anything. But like an unlimited there's the efficiency of a screw blower and the low maintenance of a screw blower, I think makes it just head and shoulders over any Roots.
Absolutely.
Brethren, if you will. It's just highly efficient, and it's you don't have to work on them all the time, and they're a sealed unit. So if you go buy like a PSI brand screw charger, C or D rotor, that's a sealed unit. So it's like SFI spec sealed unit. So you're not taking that thing apart. You're not opening it. You're not restripping the rotors, because it's not to be opened, period. It's not to be effed with. Whereas like if you like Clay Millican, how often do you guys restrip the blowers in the Roots blowers, the setback Roots blowers that are on a top fuel car? A lot, right?
Essentially every time you stomp on the loud pedal.
Essentially every time.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say that we're trying to compare top fuel cars and what Clay does to pro mod racing, but it's a similar situation where the Root style blowers that Chuck Ford makes, that Al Billis makes, that Mike Janis makes, that are made and sold into our sport, they're just a much more. What do you think, Lyle? It's because you can open them and close them, people find way to improve them. Inserts, tolerances, all sorts of different things that they experiment with to try to improve their efficiency, reduce heat, etc. So it's I think there's a lot of reasons, Luis, why people can get excited about a screw blower, but also be very worried about the potential of a screw blower. The other question I was going to ask real quick, Lyle, is Jerry Lopez threw a comment in here, and this is referencing a happening this past weekend at Jason Miller's World Cup import versus domestic world finals. Honda's 4-cylinder already went 610. I don't know all the details of this. I'm working on it because I want to do a story on it this week in the magazine. But there was a young man who cracked off like a 611 in a tube chassis, pro stock style car with a Honda 4-cylinder in it that had, I think it's I want to say it's like a Cobalt that they've kind of put Honda badging and emblems on or whatever. But nonetheless, right. Honda powered. I got to be honest, I would rather than screw blowers, I would rather the NHRA Pro Mod say write a set of rules for 4-cylinders and write a set of rules for that turbo, for those super motors, 2JZ motors, inline 6-cylinders. I'd rather see that.
Right.
Because those cars already exist.
Yep.
And a lot of them are extremely well financed.
And they go really fast.
And they go really fast.
Well, and it brings in an entire different demographic of fan. Like,
so I mean,
lots of air horns.
I'm telling you, I was looking at photos on Drag Illustrated, and they said 40,000 in attendance at import versus domestic this weekend.
Like if you bring in the 4-cylinder and the 2JZ, like it's literally grounds for the NHRA to hire a Hispanic announcer. Like
True.
It's like watching professional football and you tune into the radio. You can go, and I do it sometimes, I'll be honest, just to listen to them. I'll tune over to the Hispanic channel just to listen to them. They go, 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 no, 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 no. Like that's entertaining.
It's awesome, dude.
And they let go of the button and that thing's turning 16,000 or whatever, and they go, they go ape shit. You see there's some live videos, or you can find them on YouTube, of the stands when one of those imports outruns a domestic car. Those people lose their minds.
It was like that at our. It was like that at our race. I mean, when they came up, I mean, it was just bananas, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it was fun to watch. Like I truly enjoyed watching them.
Like I would much rather listen when those things are running. Listen to the Hispanic announcer and then watch the crowd. Then is just as enjoyable as watching the race itself. Because those people love it. Like some of those people I think save money from last Christmas just to make sure that they can go to the World Cup and live it up.
This is going to derail the whole show, but it's going to be worth talking about. So 2 things, and I'm going to first off, you're exactly right. And I got to see like probably the closest I've been to import racing, sport compact racing culture was at our race earlier this year, the World Door Slammer Nationals at Orlando Speed World Dragway, Ozzy and Maria Moya's joint. And to see old school import cars like those little Toyota Starlet things, those little short wheelbase cars with the rotary motors in them and stuff, that whole situation, to see their outlaw class, it was actually modified that they call it, which is kind of like their version of Pro Stock, if you will. It was bonkers. I mean,
those are some of the most enjoyable cars to watch.
They drive the shit out of them.
Dude, they drive the shit out of those cars.
It makes me nervous.
And I don't know if you saw, but speaking of NHRA Pro Mod, Jose Gonzalez takes a brand new car out there and wins what Warrior versus whatever.
I don't know what that class was called.
But that's a brand new car with a 2J in it, and they go out there. I think they set the record and won the class by Greyhound bus links. Like I texted him today, and
didn't it run like 5? It ran something stupid. It's the only thing I get crazy about with these races is it's so hard to find the results sometimes.
He told me today, he said the 95-inch wheelbase will keep you on your toes.
I mean, that's the 95.
That's short
wheelbase. Well, so think about this. I mean, if you really were, so I think the NHRA there's an opportunity in Pro Mod right now. And I think that Top Fuel and Funny Car are looking good at this point in time. All these things that are going on positive, but it feels like I saw it a little bit with this factory experimental class. They're looking to the future. They're going, this could be what Pro Stock becomes in 2027, in 2030, right? Maybe sooner. I don't know. But I really think if you're clearly willing to fight the battle of doing the rules, which they clearly are, why not bring in a Honda? Why not bring in a 2JZ? If you're willing to fight this battle, get an E-Canoe Supra over here or Lexus or whatever that thing is. Get a late model Honda. I mean, it would be bonkers. And Louis Chiprez is asking, would a 2JZ be competitive in Pro Mod? They'd have to slow them down, Chip. Those cars run way 550s uncorked, 560s uncorked. So you'd have to probably put a boost limit and up the weight on those cars. I mean, they'd have to probably put a 45 or 50-pound boost limit on them and try to make them weigh 2,500. Because I don't know how. Because the fastest car is one of the fastest cars. I'm going to get myself in trouble. Is that car that says, gosh dang it, somebody put it in it's a name. The Professor or something.
The guy out of Puerto Rico?
Yes. Somebody put it in here in the comments.
I'm scrolling right now because when I came down.
The Mastermind. Yeah.
When I came down to the first Door Slammer Nationals, I watched.
Did you guys hear that? Clay Millican came to my drag race.
Yes, and loved it. But I literally went and YouTubed and talked to the guy that drives that car. He's a doctor, and he flies over here. Yeah, he's like a children's doctor, pediatrician, whatever. And that car, I think it went 560 something at your race.
It did, and like I think it left at like 10, 262,
5.5.
Yeah. So that thing was it. I was actually a little bit from a promotional standpoint. I was almost frustrated because it stole the show. Like it was on like Friday at 11 a.m. And I thought, I don't know that we're going to see anything more visually stimulating than that, because he, like I said, left the starting line at 12,000 RPM, and it was like center line to guard wall, center line to guard wall, and lights the scoreboards of 550 something at 260 miles an hour. Can you imagine that car in an NHRA competition? And I honestly think that would be, gosh, it'd be so good for our sport. Second question, and because we're going to get ourselves completely derailed. Lyle mentioned something about having a meeting with the NHRA, Clay, and like the results of the meeting not really being what he expected. And, that just table that. I'm just curious, what has your experience been? You've raced in the IHRA at an extremely high level, won multiple world championships. You've competed at an extremely high level in the NHRA. What do you make of the current communication between the NHRA higher ups or sanction and series higher ups in general and race teams? Do you think it's healthy? Do you think it needs to be increased, decreased? What's your take on communication?
Clay's PR guy's calling his phone right now.
Sorry,
I know,
right? I'm
right?
not trying to get you in trouble. Yeah.
I got to tell the truth. They have never asked me anything ever.
Really?
No.
Sad.
I didn't think you were going to say that, dude. Like, I wasn't. I literally just being honest. Like,
I had a hunch that that's what you were going to say, but I was hoping not.
Yeah,
they
have the PRO, and Doug Stringer, my team owner, is on the board, and I got to be honest.
That's probably thank God for that.
Yeah, it's great and all, but I'm glad I'm not on the board because.
Oh, really?
He comes back from those meetings sometimes frustrated and sometimes just laughing because you put and Lyle probably can agree to this at Indy. When you put a pile of racers in the room together, no matter what, we're thinking about it, how it's going to affect making our car run better.
Absolutely.
And everybody ends up in an argument.
Right.
Yeah. Well, rumor had it that what's his name? Gosh dang it, Ricky Smith and Justin Bond were going to fist fight. You were there, Lyle. Was that true? Because I heard that it was like F you, F this.
Yeah,
F
they
that, old man.
They got at it, but that's just.
Yeah, no.
I don't know how many times you've talked to or been in conversation with Ricky about the rules. But he is damn sure going to make sure that whatever rule change is made is going to favor that nitrous car. I can promise you that.
That may be true, but I still wouldn't want to fist fight Ricky Smith.
I wouldn't either. No, I wouldn't. I just outrun him until he was tired and then give him a cheap shot or something. Like I damn sure wouldn't square up with him. But yeah, they did, and it was over. I don't remember what it was. They were talking about things that had happened in the past or whatever, and trying to make changes to the Pro Charger this year. And, Ricky calls BS here and Justin calls BS there. It just typical. Like you said, you get a bunch of racers in the room. We only want to favor our own combination. So there you have it.
Clay, here's a question for you. How fast have you been mile per hour wise?
Mile per hour, I have been 335.
It's pretty fast.
And since we've been talking eighth mile so much, I have been 296, I think, in the eighth. Yeah, 296.
God dang.
296?
That's stupid. That's stupid.
Send a link to Doug Winters and see if Doug Winters will join us.
Clay, I wanted to ask you earlier. I know that Darlington was an IHRA track. Did you race fuel cars there?
I did.
Really?
I did. My very first year. I raced Sportsman there quite a bit, but my first ever IHRA national event in Top Fuel was at Darlington, and I was a DNQ. And this was the beginning of my whole problem with Doug Herbert. And this is a long story, and I'm not going to make it really, really, really long.
No, tell it all. Tell it all.
So Peter Lehman had bought all this equipment from Tommy Johnson. It was me and my buddies working on it. Nobody knew what they were doing except for Mike Klober. We had hired Mike. And so it rained. We got one qualifying run, and the Greek actually left before the tree was activated and blew it up, and the supercharger came off into my lane. So I had to, make evasive maneuvers. And I was a DNQ.
Like it's a dog,
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, just let me swerve around that real quick.
Yeah, exactly. But somehow, some way, we convinced them to let us make a run during elimination. So they told us, just pull in line behind first round of Top Fuel and we'll let you make a run. So we did that. And we
can you imagine asking the NHRA that today?
Yeah.
Hey, y'all mind?
No.
Y'all mind just work me
In
between
fact,
like the semifinals?
pack your shit up and get out.
Exactly.
Sorry,
so we
go
go
ahead.
out there, make the run. We were low ET and top speed of the meet on our run that didn't count. So needless to say, we're all pumped up and excited. It was the quickest I'd ever been. I don't even remember what it was. Quarter mile back then, whatever, 490 something, whatever it was. I don't even remember. But I am on my hands and knees pushing a motor into the cabinet in the trailer. And Doug Herbert comes in, and he was one unhappy person. And he's already a giant, but when you're on your hands and knees looking up to somebody yelling and screaming, he is for sure a giant at that point. And that was kind of the beginning of our problems. And I'm telling him, like, hey, don't yell at me. Yell at the IHRA. They let us make a run. And, y'all know the rest is history. We kind of got on a roll and kicked a little butt for a lot of years over there. But Darlington, that was where that happened at.
Did you ever win a race there?
No, because that was actually the last time we raced there.
Okay.
Yeah, that was 2000, and I don't think we ever went there again, to be honest with you.
Man, Darlington is special. I unfortunately wasn't able to go to that track like during the glory years of kind of its existence and having such an impact on our sport. But I've been there a bunch inside of the last 10 years or so. What Russell Miller and his family have done with that place it's unbelievable. The money they've spent is breathtaking at the bare minimum. And it's just cool to see a track like that that's contributed so much to our sport still exist after all these years. I mean, I know we got a lot of Door Slammer fans on here tonight. The first ever 5-second Door Slammer pass. Jimmy Rector, everybody's best friend, the coolest dude alive, maybe.
I got
Jimmy
to tell a
Rector
quick
to
story.
Mitch Stott to that 598. Big moment.
So this weekend, while I'm at SEMA show roaming around, I run into Scott Taylor, and we were just talking, and Jimmy Rector is who builds his motors. And I was just saying how Jimmy is like the smartest country dude in the world. Like, he's and here this is coming from me, a very country boy, but Jimmy is like country boy smart. So we're sitting there telling, Jimmy Rector stories, and Scott's phone ring, and he holds it up to me. It's Jimmy. I answered it, and he knew immediately it was me, but yeah, Jimmy Rector is freaking bad, dude.
He really is, man.
Yeah.
He is somebody, and you make an incredible point. He is so smart, like so smart. But as you said, he's like, if you met him and you didn't know, he kind of sounds like an old hillbilly, a good old boy, and he is that, but he's also one of the most accomplished crew chiefs to ever do it, and a hell of a driver.
Yeah, he is.
I think
we got Doug Winters here.
I think we got Doug Winters here. Bring him to. What's up, Doug Winters?
There he is.
Hey, Doug.
Hey,
what are you doing?
Oh, just sitting here trying to figure out the past weekend and figure out what's next.
What is next? For those that don't know, I believe Doug Winters may be, if we use the word committed, the most committed pro mod driver of all time.
I'll agree with that.
This is a guy that has done it through success and struggle, both. He's done it from sanction to sanction, multitude of different cars. The car that I kind of fell in love with Doug Winters was his yellow 57 Chevy. But he's a guy who's been there and done that. Doug, I appreciate you taking me up on it, man. What do you make? Fill us in real quick. You were at Vegas this past weekend. You're one of the guys that the NHRA probably should send a check to every other week on the 1st and the 15th, if I'm being honest, because of the support you've shown all these years. What's your take on the screw blower rule?
Well, first of all, committed is just not that far away from I need to be admitted, right?
Correct.
So we'll leave that at that. But yeah, the screw blower was we all talked about it in Lyle knows that we, as a group, obviously we voted not to let screws in, and now all of a sudden I get a text saying, "Hey, look what changed. Looks like now that screws are going to be let in." So, we've been dancing around all the last 2 or 3 days trying to figure out what's going on, what to do, how to move forward. Not only was the screws introduced, but we were hopefully getting some type of weight break for our nostalgia 69 Chevelle body, which didn't happen. Didn't happen either.
Right.
So basically, I don't know what to do right now. I told NHRA today that I'm placing an order for a late model Camaro, which is not untrue. I have talked to Andy McCoy, and we're working on to get one out. I told them that the only thing I hate that they wish they would have told me a couple months ago, so I got to have Andy already working on it.
That's right.
But
that's right.
But that's where we are right now. Is I've got what disadvantage I have with the 69 Chevelle, I don't know, but I know there's a disadvantage. So, to compete with you guys in those late model Camaros, I've got to move toward that. I don't want to, but I've got to.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Go ahead, Lyle.
We were in the same boat with that 67 Mustang that Alex Laughlin drove earlier in the year. We were just going to convert it to turbo in hopes that they were going to come through with that. We were talking about a 50-pound, correct me if I'm wrong, a 50-pound brake or something like that for a nostalgia body? Somewhere in that.
They were talking about 35 pounds. Which,
right.
So I told them that wasn't enough. So,
right.
Even though they didn't.
That was my question.
Go ahead.
For clarification, what is, and Doug, I was going to ask you this, and we've been talking about this for like 7 months, because I want you to say, what would have been enough? Like, what is an enticing enough weight break to build an old car?
It's got to be a minimum of 50.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I was thinking 100, like a minute of 50, yeah.
Well, it depends on what it is, right? So if you want to run a 49 Mercury or a 55, 57 Chevy, yeah, it's got to be 100 pounds.
Agree.
And to Stevie Fast's opinion, which I totally agree with, NHRA needs to make us build some.
That's right.
In other words, the weight break is so big, you would be stupid not to build one.
Right.
And yes. I mean, that was my point with the 100 pounds thing, because it's like they don't have an understanding of how much this shit cost. Like, you can't get anybody excited about building a 49 Mercury or a 69 Chevelle or a 57 Chevy unless it's going to be like distinctly advantageous.
That's right.
To do it. And then maybe punish me a little bit over time, but you got to give me the Pro Charger treatment. You got to give me the Pro Charger treatment and let me run away with it for a little while and then try to reel it in, like 100 pounds minimum. And I would make that change right now. I mean, we need old cars in Pro Mod.
Yeah.
It's so important. And I guess it's because they don't understand that these cars, you're going to spend $200,000 on a roller, like, before you've painted it. You know what I mean? At least, I mean, it's bonkers what this stuff costs. And how are you going to get somebody like, Doug, and I'm not being disparaging, Doug, but like a guy who's got to make this make sense on some level, right? Like, how are you going to entice Doug Winters to build another 57 Chevy like he became famous for, which I think he would do if he had a good reason. You know what I mean? How are you going to get him to do that unless it's massively advantageous?
And that was, part of our argument was, of all the things that needed to be, I talked about this at the beginning of the show, of all the things that needed to be addressed, we bring the screw blowers in. We have so much more that needs to be changed and that needs to be talked about.
Just a complete head scratcher.
Yeah, and before, Doug, I know that we didn't as a team, but did you get called before that rule was released? No. Nobody was called. Nobody was notified. We knew because somebody shared the rule book. Right?
I talked to NHRA today, and I'll give you the rationale behind it. So they said they let in screw blowers to try to entice other cars from other sanctioning bodies to come participate in NHRA. So that's the plan. And actually, my rule on to call. Also got
Doug, we lost you for a second. Back up like 2 seconds.
Those
Doug, real quick, back up like 2 seconds. Doug, back up like 2 seconds. We didn't hear you.
Maybe not. He needs to go out and bring him back in.
Can you still hear?
Hold on. We lost you for a second, Doug. Hold on.
Here you go.
Someone might have tried to call you.
Here you go. Yeah, I'd say someone tried to call him, maybe.
Here you go.
Doug, join us again. Kick from studio. Well, so I think to paraphrase Doug, he was mentioning something about the NHRA's rationale behind that rule change being bringing cars from other series to run with the NHRA. But like, so other series means NMCA, PDRA, or Midwest.
Right.
And I mean, I can't think of any of those cars. Like, I mean, I think I've heard rumor, I'll just be honest. I heard Todd Martin, one of the top cars in the Midwest Drag Racing Series. I heard that he's interested in running a few NHRA series, NHRA events.
Right.
But I'm thinking that would be like St. Louis and Indy, maybe.
But that's not enough. Like, we need Todd Martin to want to run half or better. At least half. Like, you know, but we need to pick up 2 or 3 regional racers, right? And to pick up those 2 or 3 regional racers at every track that we go to, allowing the screw blower was not the answer. Like, that's not it. You know, and we talked about it, and Doug can attest. We talked about it. Everybody who I feel like was there, that their opinion mattered, voiced what needed to happen. They all seemed to agree on a common ground, and that's not what we got, you know, and I don't. But Doug, go back to, you talked to the NHRA and their grounds were, and then we kind of lost you. Still not.
Yeah,
right.
I'm sorry, but their grounds. Can you hear me okay now?
Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I think it's just a little delayed.
You got me?
Yes.
Okay. So NHRA, if you can still hear me, NHRA's thing was try to pick screw blower, some other sanctioning bodies to cross over to run NHRA events.
Oh shit, we lost him again.
No, he just quit talking, did he?
So I don't know if you're.
We're losing you. We're losing you, Doug.
To see if you heard me or not.
Yeah, we got. Yeah, we heard all that.
Let me try. Yeah, so that was the deal, and also the weight break also came into play with that, saying that they hoped that the screw blowers coming in from other sanctioning bodies would bring more diversity, therefore that you didn't need a weight break.
Huh.
Yeah, I mean,
listen, there's no way this is not being done in the name of someone specific. This is being, I mean, I don't know this, but they're aiming at somebody. Like, I don't know who they think, if it's Craig Sullivan, if it's Todd Martin. I don't know who they think who they're after necessarily, but I got to be honest, like, I've made a lot of calls. I've tried hard to find someone that was going to show up and commit to run all 10 or 12. And I can't come up with anybody that's willing to commit to all 10 or 12 races with a screw blower car. Because it's interesting to me, they're going to think about the transmission tunnel rule. The quickest thing you could do to increase participation regionally would be do away with that transmission tunnel rule.
100%.
Overnight, you're going to get some regional cars.
At least, and Stevie,
which
it was.
They're working on it. Yeah.
And Stevie's said an amendment, right? Like a 2-race waiver. Because if we're going to pick up 2 to 3, maybe 4 regional racers, no matter where we go, if you give them an amendment, the most they're going to make is maybe 2 or 3 races, right? So give them a 2-race waiver and allow them to come in and race with us without the however much that costs. You know, I've heard all different numbers, but let's just say it's $10,000 or whatever to do this full enclosure and all the stuff you got to do. Give them a waiver for it. And Doug says they're still in talkings about that, and hopefully they'll do something about it. But
do you think that that's a valid safety rule? I mean, Lyle, you're the most. There's no one I would rather ask about a safety rule than you, Lyle.
I mean, I'm completely comfortable making passes or racing without my Turbo 400 covered in carbon. Like, I'm good with it. I mean, I've raced all kinds of cars with open transmission tunnels. I understand why they made the rules, but there are blankets and there are other ways to protect us from the bad things that come from a Turbo 400 failing, you know, other than just a few sheets of carbon, right? I mean, they're really not going to stop much, with the exception of hot fluid, which I understand. But, make them run with a blanket, or make only the cars with turbo 400s run a transmission enclosure.
There's Craig Sullivan.
I don't know.
In.
There we
Can
go.
you hear us, Craig?
Hey guys, what's up?
What's up, Craig?
Well, let's go straight to the horse's mouth. Only here on Drag Illustrated. Craig, I can't figure out the screw blower rule, and I haven't talked to you. Admittedly, I have talked to some people close to you, but it feels like they're just sending you an open invitation to come race. I mean, are you planning on running an NHRA Pro Mod next year and you didn't tell me?
Well, if they're sending me a check, then I can do it. That check thing, Lyle pulled it off real good. And whatever Lyle's doing, I'd like right on his coat. I mean, they did approach me at the Nationals, and I spent some time there, and they're going, "This is our problem." I said, well, 8-mile race. And they're, well, Craig, wouldn't you really like to run quarter mile? And I said, I don't have a reason to. And it was, well, if you could, I said, it's far easier to go lease a car than it is to take my car and spend $50,000 to make it legal. And it's brand new.
Yeah.
There's just too many things going on here. There's no reason to. I mean, you had one person that, supposedly got burnt by transmission fluid, and we had to make this massive rule. Now you're telling me rules really don't matter. And I just, the rules. I don't know why one person can make the change on a rule. And then they come up with the screw deal. It was 70 over, and it was supposed to be a 14 gear and 3 forward deals and a compression. And I said, I want the rest of it because my manufacturer does not make a 14 gear. Well, if you're doing this off stuff, I said, we've got a Christmas. If you walk through alcohol, that's about 80%. We're not a one-off.
Craig, whenever you get wherever you're going, try us again. We can hear like every other word.
Okay.
Yeah, because I want you on. If you don't mind, I apologize. But come back and see us because we really want you.
Okay. I'll hit you.
So I'm going to tell everybody what I think Craig had to say was essentially, it sounds to me, and this is the stuff that literally kind of like irks me, is because as a hand to God, here we go, drinking game. Everybody,
yeah, there you go, drink.
I mean, and I'm not trying to cry a river, but I'm gonna cry a little bit. If you've ever promoted a drag race, you call racers all the time. Like that's almost your job, is racer outreach. Like you're just constantly calling and calling and calling and, hey, are you coming? Sure would like to make sure you're coming. Like, is there anything I can do to make sure you're coming? And like, when you're in the business of like really working hard to like promote a drag racing, increase participation, that's the name of the game. JT, how many times, I mean, I made for in
have
the
you cried?
build up. I have cried. But
oh.
Seriously, in the build up to the World Series of Pro Mod and the World Door Slammer Nationals, how much time did I spend on the phone with racers?
Crazy. Like the whole day, all day. Forever.
All day, every day. Calling racers. I mean, I remember, calling racers ad nausea, talking to them every day because I needed to make sure they were going to come. I'm building a show around them. And when I hear situations like Clay's comment earlier, now we hear Craig Sullivan say that he's had one conversation. Like, wait, what? Oh, here we go. JT's a picture of me crying. Why you got to be so hard on me, bro? Lyle cries all the time.
I do. All day, every day.
I mean, it's seriously, that's what you do. If you're in the business of promoting drag races and you don't have maybe a Wally or whatever, racer outreach is a huge part of your day-to-day life. And I remember like hearing my phone ring, right? And my stomach would get upset because I don't know who it is calling to tell me they're not coming. or who it is to tell me, sorry, man, not going to make it. My wife went into labor. She's not even pregnant. Weirdest deal, but we're not going to make it to the race. I'm really sorry. I know you've, put up $100,000 of money you don't have to, pay us. But no, it's insane to me to hear so many stories of racers not ever hearing from the NHRA. Craig's basically telling us that he got one call.
Yeah.
One call. And
or not even a call, was it? They said somebody talked to him somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Disco's here.
Here's Disco Dean. Nope.
Oh, wait.
I got it.
Oh.
I clicked it. Disco Dean Karns. What's going on, big dog?
Just sitting here trying to get the popcorn ready for Street Outlaws.
We're watching it right now, man.
Some of us have to work late, man. We got to actually sling window film to get these cars running and stuff.
You wouldn't have to work late if you didn't start late, Dean.
Well, that, and if I won more races, I wouldn't have to work that late too. That winner's purse is pretty good if you can turn the light on.
Yeah.
Dean,
hey, thanks for coming, Dean.
You're welcome, bud.
Dean,
maybe this year at PRI, you give me one of them passes to get into that show.
You got it. Listen, we had JT and I had a party plan. JT and I had a party planning call today. This deal's going to be bananas. You're partying with us,
really
Disco.
good. Really good.
JT, make sure Disco's wherever we are. We're going to have a big time.
Okay.
Lock it in.
You heard that, right, babe?
Yes.
We can party.
Locked in.
We're in. We're locked in, babe. We're not gonna be
locked in.
We're not gonna be waiting in line this year.
No lines. West don't wait
early.
in lines.
Yeah, just come early with me, and we can get started before all these other yahoos show up.
All right, Dean, I got to hop right in here. So we're supposed to be talking MPK and Street Outlaws and all that, but let's talk real big money. Are you headed to Montgomery this weekend for the Great American Guaranteed Million?
I would. I've hit the original million, and I know this new million that Slate and Britt Cummins is putting on. Yep. I would normally be there, but I've been on the road the last, I think, 7 weeks straight racing. That means living in the toter home, not coming home, racing consecutive weekends, servicing the car on the way. So I kind of just want to chill. I got so much work at the shop. I kind of just want to chill, hang with Lindsay. She's getting the marketing stuff done for the shirts and everything. Amen. Eat some Thanksgiving fat turkey and relax for a couple weeks. But believe me, my heart is with my bracket racers, and I would love to be there this coming weekend.
I would love to be there too. When they did that deal last year, I was kind of the color commentator on the live stream, and it was so awesome watching those guys pull up there and race for hundreds and hundreds. Well, it's guaranteed $1 million,
Yeah.
And Britt and Galen, Slate, Cole, everybody does such a great job with that race. Britt and Galen actually were on the cover of Drag Illustrated. I thought that was pretty cool.
They were. Yep.
Unfortunately, I've got to go stomp on the loud pedal in Pomona, and I'm not going to be there, but I will be watching online because they're racing for a freaking $1 million. And this ain't no,
based on car count. Yeah.
It's $1 million freaking dollars.
Aaron, there's nothing better for a racer when you look at the bottom of the flyer that says guaranteed purse.
That's exactly
that's when you're wishing just 6 guys would show up, but it doesn't happen like that. You're like, if 6 guys show up, I can get the buy at 3, then I'll be great,
Or we could just agree on a split when we got there and go back home.
Yeah, exactly.
Dean, take us through I first encountered you when you were bracket racing.
Yep.
Can you take us through kind of your decision-making process and because you've been you dived into this no prep scene. I first met you, I think, at American Outlaws Live, the race that Britt Cummins put on down at the Texas Motorplex, 75,000 to win no prep race.
The original. The original.
Yeah. It was and I had a ball, to be honest with you. I'm curious, because you've stuck with it, you've been a part of it since it kind of happened. Mm-hmm. What was the driving, motivating factor, I guess, if you will, for you to kind of go from bracket racing quite regularly all the time to diving? Because this is like polar opposites. We've not seen anybody else do this, and dude, you've done it in fine fashion. You've got a huge fan following. It's amazing to have seen. But how did this come to be?
Well, you can ask Clay, you can ask Lyle, you can ask anybody you put on this show, anybody at all you put in here, and they've all bracket raced sometime in their life. Bracket racing is a handicap style racing, which it don't matter if you have a 420 blower dragster or you have a 7-second door car at slow. It handicaps everybody, makes everybody equal, and you race for your budget. But you ask Clay, you ask Lyle, you ask anybody, would you bracket race for a living, or would you rather run heads up first to the finish line for a living? And I'll promise you, anybody that says that says they want to race heads up. So
that's fact.
You guys get that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are facts.
I mean, it's just the truth of the matter is drag racing was invented because two egos got around and says, my shit's faster, yours stuff faster than mine. Let's see who's faster. So then the budgets came into it. Bracket racing come about so everybody could afford to race. And when I did it, I loved it. I've won 50 granders, 20 granders, 10 granders. And there is some of the best family in that situation, just like in the no prep life, just like how Lyle runs Pro Mod and how Clay runs Top Fuel. It's a family. I mean, we're all some type of family, but deep down inside, every single racer in this country, you race super stock K automatic, I don't care. You still want a heads up race. That's what you want to do. And
that's motorsports, right? That's motorsports, and that's across the board. You want to win.
And that's what I wanted to do. And I was transitioning from bracket racing into like quick 8 racing. I did there was a series called the Nopi series. I don't even remember that, where import stuff.
Absolutely.
I won the Nopi World Championship with my dragster. It's called the Disco Biscuit. And then from that, I went into like Pro Top Outlaws, heads up stuff. And I had a lot of guys in my corner help me. Timmy Farrell helped me. Scott Graham, Scoots, that tunes for Pat Dakin, helped me. There's many people. Bart Morris along the way that helps me. And I just kept moving up. Well, it came to the point that, Slayton Britt and I think the other guy, Oki, was in on the deal. I saw, this is a heads up deal coming, no prep. Sounds like it's going to be a big deal, $75,000 to win. So I called him. I said, hey, I want to get in that race. They're like, Disco, you're a bracket racer, bro. I said, yeah, I know. It's like, they're like, do you have a car? I was like, no, but I'll buy one. He's like, yeah, right. I said, no, I promise. He's like, dude, this race is in 4 weeks. I said, dude, if you promise me a spot, because there's invitational only, I said, you promise me a spot, I will build a car and I will be there. And Slayton and Britt were laughing at me. You can't do this. You can't do this. And Oki was laughing at me. And that's what, give me something to do and to prove that I can take a spot. He says, you do a video promoting our race and saying that you can be there. And if you do this and that, and you get enough views, we'll do it. So I did a video. It was like a bandit, because there's outlaws. So I did like a handkerchief over my face and a cowboy hat. And, I made the blower talk. I had my injector talking to me back and forth, and I was flipping the butterflies, and it got, a shit ton of views in a matter of a couple of days. So they called me and said, you're in. I was like, okay, now I need to go find a car. So to make a long story short, David Bird Jones was buying a Camaro from Northern Ohio. Well, I found this car on the internet that was in some guy's garage, and it was like 20 miles from David Bird Jones in Texas. So he says, hey, I'll go buy this car for you. You go buy that car for me. We'll drive and meet in the middle of Missouri. I was like, perfect. So I go up there and get this car for Bird, load it up. It's like a Tim McCamus Camaro, which is now, long story short, Lizzie's car, because Bird didn't completely finish it. It's the one Lizzie was driving before the 69. Mm-hmm. So, Bird and Kai were really tight. So I drive that car down there. We go to a casino. We trade cars in the parking lot. I pay him for the car. He pays me for my car. We come back. I instantly strip this thing down and paint it pink, right? So I do another video for them guys, and they're just eating it up. And then I'm in official. It's good. So off to Texas we go. That's how it started.
That's awesome.
What a story, dude. And it's actually a fantastic thing, because now you're like a fixture as a part of the No Prep Kings show. I mean, you're a guy that we all expect to see every Monday night. It's kind of crazy. We do have Craig Sullivan. Real quick, Craig, can you hear us okay?
Yes, sir.
You sound much better. You look much better. Well, bring us up to speed real quick. We had a whole slew of people in here asking about this NHRA rule. I don't want to keep you all night, but I want to take this opportunity since you joined us. So did you get like a formal invitation from Glendora, California to come run Pro Mod, or what exactly happened?
No, Lonnie and I talked at the U.S. Nationals. We kind of bounced some stuff around, and then he had sent me back, some that they thought the rule needed to be with the screw blowers, and I just told him, my rear end manufacturer doesn't make a 410 gear, and to be honest, I can't put a big enough fuel tank in my car to go run quarter mile. And I said, if you want more cars, you need to have an 8-mile race. Well, that's not what we do, and we've already been told that we quarter-mile race. So I said, really? Your pros don't? That, so how many different of a race do you have? And I'll give it to Lonnie. He's really trying to get NHRA back on track.
I'll agree with that.
It appears the upper echelon has dug their heels in, and they've got what they want. And basically, I heard backside, and this wasn't from an NHRA official, is they just wanted a couple of cars to show up, so they had more cars. I'm going, tell me why I'm going to go spend that kind of money. I've got a brand new car. It takes $50,000 to make it NHRA legal. And run 6, 10 races them when I run 20 a year now. Not to mention, it'll take another $800,000 on top of what I spend to go racing quarter mile for those few races, and it's just not there. I mean, it's cheaper to go lease a vehicle. I mean, Proline's got extra cars, Whiteley's got extra cars. There's plenty of cars out there if that's what you want to go do.
Yep.
I can't argue, man, and I appreciate you coming on here and kind of clearing things up, because I think, based on like the text and emails that we've been getting at the magazine, I think people assume that there must be like a pocket. There must be some Craig Sullivans. There must be some guys out there that have expressed interest in racing the whole season. And that's why they've made this rule change. Yeah. And it's been hard because I know that not to be the case. And you're proving it right here. But it's like, that's what people on the outside go, oh, they're putting 49 Mercuries in the rules. They're putting screw blowers in the rules. That must mean there's a handful of guys that are on their way. But I mean, you're here telling us right now that's not the case.
I mean, I'm in Orlando now, and we tested today. And unfortunately, we've got a business meeting with Mark Woodruff, Joel Plowski, Brent Sansui, and Andy Smith. They're all in the ale house waiting on me.
Oh, so, is that what you're calling it now? Those are business meetings?
Yeah, that's a business meeting?
We know those
like, guys, I don't think Brent
Sansusi's
ever been to a business meeting.
Yeah.
Ever. A safety meeting at best.
Dude, I love that guy, though. Oh, my God.
I do, too. I love him to death.
We're working on a mile game. And, I also heard, and it wasn't from an NHRA official, that if you're going to race the best, that's got to be an NHRA. And I got news for them. If they'd ever want to go non-professional racing, there's some bad motherfuckers over here. We don't always go to races where the prep is a guaranteed prep every time you go down to. And Lyle's very well aware of it, and I'm extremely proud of what Lyle and his team have done to win these races. I mean, and
I appreciate it, Greg.
But I'm just not really wanting to be a member of.
Well, hey, man, I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming on here and being honest. It's like, that's the name of our game here. I don't think there's any other place in drag racing right now that you can have your opinion heard unfiltered. We're not going to take this post down. We're not going to delete this. I think this is the only place that exists to go say what you want to say. And I appreciate you doing it. Go to dinner, Craig. Tell everybody hi. And we'll talk soon. Seriously, I don't want to keep you from breaking bread. But thank you so much for joining us and clearing it up, because you've answered a lot of questions, man. Thank you.
I'm flat. They put our body deal in there, and I hope Larry Jeffers sells some pockets of them. But
he probably will.
Wait, does Jeffers take that thing in steel? Can I get that in steel roof and quarters?
I think Billy Labor's got the hook up on the steel roof and quarter deal.
All right.
Hey, thanks, Craig. I appreciate you, brother.
Anytime. God, I appreciate what you do.
Thanks,
Craig.
Talk to you soon. Man, it's Clifford Hurd is in the comments right here. Watches every week, Mondays and Wednesdays. Thanks, Clifford. It's true, man. I do think there needs to be a place to go say whatever you think. I really, really do. Scott Malpas is saying it. Guys, if you're watching, please let us know where you're checking in from. Let us know where you're watching, wherever you're at in the world. Click like, click share, click subscribe. Help us spread the gospel of drag racing. Dean, I got to know, what has it been? So you were there season 1, ground level.
Mm-hmm.
I said earlier tonight that it feels like No Prep Kings, not that it wasn't already a very successful entity, but it feels like in 2021, it's taken on a new life or it's hit a new gear. Do you experience that? I mean, can you take us through diving into this show to where we're at today?
Well, obviously, the United States and other countries ran into a problem, health industry with COVID and sickness. And then that grew, everybody sitting on their rears, nothing to do, want to get out, want to be involved. And our first show of the year, which was in my home, basically one of my home tracks, National Trail Raceway. We've all been there, obviously. It's been around forever. I want to say, don't quote me, but the spectator count was like 30,000 plus. I mean, it was I've been there when Jason Line wrecked Pro Stock. I've been there when my dad worked for NHRA. And I was even on the Nashville network with Kenny Bernstein when they used to have, remember they used to bring the practice simulator? Me and Kenny Bernstein went out when I was like 7 years old. My dad was working for NHRA and I just happened to, be right next to him. And I've been at that track forever, and I have never seen that track that packed with spectators. And all of the spectators had a good time. They're cutting up, they're laughing, they're joking. And it was just so, as a racer, you can just ask Clay or Lyle, anybody. There's nothing like pulling out from underneath the tower and standing room only, fence lines packed, RVs are backed up to the fence all the way past the finish line. And you're like, man, this is an amazing thing just to be able to race in front of people like this. And it's amazing that this many people are attached to the Street Outlaw brand.
I find it's probably the best thing happening in our sport, because JT and I talk about this all the time. People find out we work in drag racing, like in the little town we're from. And the first thing they ask us is, hey, do you know that Disco Dean? Hey, do you know that Lizzie Musey? Hey, do you know that Murder Nova? Hey, do you know that Ryan Martin? I mean, it's like,
it's crazy.
What about Greg Anderson, or what about Jed Coughlin? What about, you know what I mean? Like it almost, I mean, I got to be honest, it kind of breaks your heart in a way, because I mean, you're like us. You've spent your whole life in drag racing wishing someone in the world knew who we were or knew what we were doing, but now they do.
Well, here's my take on it. And history repeats itself. When I was a kid and my dad was drag racing, running D-Gas, E-Modified, whatever classes he ran in NHRA. When I was a kid, TV Tommy Ivo came to the track in his 4-engine Buick, burnout car. Don Garlitz would grudge race Shirley Muldowney. Bob Glidden would race, Grumpy Jenkins. And that is the rivalries. Those are the grudges that you remember as a kid, or at least I did. I'm 46, and I remember that. I remember Roger Gustin was bringing the jet car to the track. You got to go. But in that times, there were grudge races. It wouldn't be nothing for 32 or 64 funny cars to show up at a track, double B funny cars, And back then, people had grudges. Every car had a name. Every racer had a name. And people remember that. And this is history repeating itself. The people you wanted to see back then were the kingpins of NHRA, your best 2 pro stock racers, best 2 out of 3, and then your top fuel drivers. You got Don Garlitz first, Shirley Muldowney. They got a grudge race at this local track on the way to their next NHRA track. So in my eyes, I really think history is repeating itself, and now that's just us because we're more popular than NHRA. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just the amount of viewers that this show has compared to the amount of viewers that NHRA has, it just touches more people for some reason. It touches grandmas, it touches children's, it touches people that you don't know in any aspect, compared to just straight drag racers. And
and here's what I would say that's exciting. And this is where anybody who wants to create an us versus them narrative, because that's not what we're here to do. Correct. I told JT and my whole team at Drag Illustrated, we have our Monday morning, I call it our checkup from the neck up. Every Monday morning, we have a conference call. And I said to them, what we're doing on this channel and everything we're doing at Drag Illustrated, this shit's historic, because no one's ever treated all these people as one community. Right. It's always been the NHRA, the IHRA, bracket racers versus heads up drag racers, street racers versus track racers, class racers versus whatever. And we want to treat the entire sport of drag racing like, if you've ever rolled in and turned on the bottom bulb, you're my guy. Mm-hmm. You're my gal. If you've ever done that, you're my kind of person. And I think that it's interesting because, and this is what I think people are sleeping on. There's some crossover, but not that much. The no prep, the people that are tuning in, the millions of people that are tuning in on a Monday night to watch No Prep Kings, I'm gonna be honest, probably aren't the 1,000,000 or 800,000 people that are tuning in to watch an NHRA drag race on Sunday. No. They're different people. And that's okay. Mm-hmm. The magic is going to come when we bring those people together. Right. Mm-hmm. That's when the magic's going to happen, because there's a whole group of people that are, and I don't say this disparagingly, like they're carnival fans. Mm-hmm. They're fans of, like, they don't know what a trans break is. Mm-hmm. They don't know what this stuff is, but they know they like Dean Karns. Yeah. They like his mohawk, and they like that pink car he drives, whereas the Clay Millican
smoking hot girl fan.
Absolutely. Clay Millican's fans might know what clutch timing looks like, or how many clutch discs are in that bell housing, or in that clutch can on his car. It's a different group of people, but the magic will come when we are able at some point in time to bring those audiences together. That's why we've never been bashful. Like, I'm a fan of NPK the same way I'm a fan of the NHRA, the same way I'm a fan of the PDRA to the NMCA and blah, 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 blah. Because what's good for the No Prep King series, in my opinion, despite the opinion of many others, is good for NHRA and vice versa. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, what you guys are doing, somebody said it, Cliff, one of our longtime, kind of hardcore fans, Clifford Hurd, he said NHRA should send a thank you card to NPK. I second that.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
Like when this all first started, and the first season it was on, and people were like, "Oh, this is never going to last. This is never going to be around." And then now it's, how many more years do you think this will go? How many more years do you think this will go? Yep. I have seen nothing but the fans increase every year. My merchandise sales go up. Everybody's merchandise sales go up. The spectator count goes up. The daily driver cars, the people that show up, the daily driver people show. I mean, it's just growing and growing and growing. And I agree. I think it should feed both entities. I mean, if it's racing and you got, big tires in back, small tires in front, give me your money, go down the track. That's how it is. You just show up and race. And we all want to race deep down in our heart. That's what we do. No matter if it's Clay in his Top Fuel, Lyle in his Pro Mod, me on the street, or me at No Prep Kings. We are racers at heart. And anything we can do to keep this sport thriving and making money and people being entertained and getting their money's worth. When you go to an NHRA race and you spend whatever it is at the gate, $40-$50, and you want to go see Clay on Friday night under the lights at Indy, you want to see Nitro Flames for 1,000 feet. You want to see side-by-side runs, and we need to give these fans that when they show up for a No Prep Kings race. You want to see side-by-side runs, people getting squirrely. We don't want to see anybody wrecked, but you want to be entertained. Our job is to do that. We're entertainers. We are just being paid to do what we absolutely love, and there is no better job than that on earth for me.
I'm kind of sad they fixed the light situation. I mean, that's going to be way less drama,
You're a bracket racer that knows, that talks. Okay, Dean, take us through this, because you're a the time. Bracket racers understand how shit works.
Correct.
That's like the bracket racers.
Michael Hitson is in the comments giving it to you.
He is. That's my dude, man.
He said, when are you going to be fast?
I tell him that when he comes back. Tell him the day he comes back, that's when I'll be hauling ass back.
So tell us real quick, Dean. Like,
Okay.
I mean, seriously, everybody knows. Like, bracket racers understand the timing system, understand rollout, understand
Correct.
how all this stuff works.
Correct.
How hard has it been for you to swallow like some of the timing system issues that have existed in just the guessing the green light, right?
Okay. Well,
how hard has that been to swallow?
It's fine with me because I know about it going in. I know how a tree works. I host bracket races at my local track, so I know what stage the start time is. I know what rollout is. I know what height of the beam is. I know, length of the bulb on. I know all that and how it works. A lot of people don't know that. I'm not being mean. A lot of drag racers you bracket race with don't know how a tree works, doesn't know how stage lock works, doesn't know how to deep stage or any of that. But the one thing that I can explain to everybody, and they will understand what it's like, is have you ever let go of the button before the tree activated? Clay, you ever done that? Lyle, you ever let go of the button before, right? If you want to guess, that's how you got to dig deep down in your nuts and just go, I think it's coming on now. And let go of the button without seeing the tree fire. That's what they're doing. I mean, it's a pure 100% guess. You have to let go before anything happens. And obviously, there's a stage to start time at every track. Most national events, your stage to start is set somewhere between 0.8 and 1.2 or 1.1 and 1.4. But what also people don't take into consideration is how long the stage to start activation light has to be seen. So let's say we got 3 bulbs on. Clay's in, fully staged, and I'm flickering the bottom bulb, flicker. If I flicker that bottom bulb for 0.4 of a second, 0.5 of a second, 0.6 of a second, the tree says, hey, I think I'm on. He's in far enough. Let's drop the tree. Well, some people don't understand that the tree can be activated with the bulb out.
That's right.
Okay. So the tree can be fired and then you not even be in the beams. And, that happens to a lot of bracket racers and they don't understand. Hey, my car didn't move. I went in. I'm on the button. I've got a line lock on my car. My car never comes out of the beam. Well, the stage bulb was on enough to activate the tree. And then by the time you got in, the tree dropped. So you're red. And that depends if you don't have stage lock on. If you have stage lock on, he's going to go green no matter what happens, where he's at or whatever. But being up there racing for $40,000 and knowing that you have a top 5 car in contention and you're fast, when you're up there on the 2-step and you're holding that screw blower at 4,000 RPMs and you're just looking at the tree, and you're just waiting for a green, and sometimes you just want to let go of it randomly and hope you catch it and your rollout catches you green, hey, more power to you because the risk-reward factor of that is huge. So just say, I'm gonna do easy numbers, hypothetical numbers. Let's just say my car goes 350, and let's say your car goes 4 flat, right? The tree is 0.4 of a second. 0.4 of a second. The average human reaction is 0.02 of a second. The average time for a car to react from the time you let go of the button to the car moves is around 0.4 of a second. Okay. So with all that guessing and factor, a guy that would go 360 and I would go 4 flat, I could beat you going 4 flat, guessing at the tree, and you cannot run me down.
That's right.
But you have to let go before you ever see anything. It's just letting go in midair, just hoping the starter pressed the button when you think he did. The stage of start time was set where you think it's at. It's a pure guess. That's why it's called guessing. And a lot of the fans don't understand it's guessing. They think you're just cutting a better light. Yeah. It's not cutting a better light if you're letting go when there's nothing on. You're just letting go.
I don't like it. I like the drama.
Bulbs are on,
Yeah, I think we like the drama, but yeah, you want to see the best car win or whoever cut the best light win. Not. I think
we all owe Disco Dean like 1999.
We did.
Like that was like a webinar. Tonight. That was a paid webinar.
Yeah. Like, you know what? I mean, literally. You know what's so awesome about that? And I study this stuff. I mean, crap, I make a living driving a race car. And he's dead on correct on everything he said. You flicker the beam, it adds a half a second to the stage to start time, unless you run past, like you said. But what's amazing to me is through the years, all the different crew chiefs I've had, big names, big time professional, was amazing to me that almost none of them knew nothing about how the timing system worked. Bracket racers are the ones that typically have that figured out. I mean, I can tell a quick story that when I first started Top Fuel, there was always a driver's meeting at the NHRA. You would go to these driver's meeting and they would tell you where the finish line scoreboards were in relation to where the finish line was. And so I went to several of these meetings with my current crew chief now, Mike Klober, because that's who I had when I started. And I'm like, why are they always talking about where the scoreboards are in relation to the finish line? And he said, well, that way you know where to shut off. And I'm like, no, Mike, that's not how that works. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, you should know where you're at by driving by the cones, because that's how bracket racers do it. Right. We know when we pass the 60 foot, we know when we pass the 330 and half track, mile an hour light, finish line, you know? And so that is how much some of the pros actually know about how the timing system works, that the beams are 7 to 11 inches off the ground at 60 foot, you know, and on and on and on. But it is crazy. Dean is 100% right. A lot of these people don't understand it, don't realize it, and they just go, you know, and I could get off on another rant about how some of the people driving Top Fuel cars don't even let off the throttle pedal because it's on a timer nowadays, which drives me crazy.
What? the throttle's on a timer?
Oh,
no way.
Throttles, parachutes.
All on a wheel counter.
Yes, sir. I'm right, ain't I, Lyle? I'm telling the truth, right?
He talked about that with us one time, Wes. Don't you remember?
Yeah, you're right.
The throttle? I don't think he said
it's on a wheel counter.
Yeah.
On a wheel counter, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
1,000 feet. She's shutting the throttle off if you got it held wide open or not. That just drives me nuts.
Yeah, that's hard to take. Dean, we have a fan. Scott Malpass is asking, do the MPK tracks run guard beams? Do they?
You know, that's a good question, because a lot of times as a driver, we don't get that much information. But I would say if you see somebody jumping before the tree's activated and you see somebody go red during the event, I would say the guard beam would be on. Yeah. Or even in regular competition, when everybody's racing and you don't see hardly any red lights, I would say the guard beam is on, because if somebody had a diaper hanging down, had a piece behind the wheel, had more than 3 inches of stagger in the car, then it would catch that. Yeah. So, you know, we see random red lights every now and then when people try to guess. But as you know, you cannot go red on an instant green tree as long as the green bulb is in the green bulb location. Now, if they move it up one, you got to pay attention. If they move it up one to the yellow spot, then that's where it gets real tricky and real hectic. And they did that in one season. They moved the green into the yellow bulb to try to.
I didn't know that. What? This is some shit, man. Like, really?
This is things that, you know, a lot of racers may not pay attention to. You know, these are things that can win or lose races really quick or really easy. Because, you know, like going back to the Great American Bracket Race, or not to make, you got me thinking about bracket race.
American Outlaws Live.
What did they call it? American Outlaws Live.
Yeah, so going back to American Outlaws Live, we got one grudge pass, which is rare to get a grudge pass and race before, because we normally race off the trailer most of the time. So I take my grudge pass, I'm good. David Byrne takes his grudge pass. Up comes Slate and Britt rolling up to me. They're like, hey, do you got a delay box in your car? And I said, well, of course, yes. Well, can we look at it? Yeah. And they take a look at it. I'm like, what? He's like, well, I just don't understand. I said, what don't you understand? He says, only you and David Bird Jones are the only two cars that your reaction time were sub 0.4 of a second. So say like 0.388, 0.378, right? He says, we don't understand. Everybody else is, you know, 0.5 or above, because you got to remember, we're letting go on green. So you see green, you let go of the button, then the car starts taking off and it's got to roll out of the beams. It's about 0.4 of a second or so to do that. He's like, we don't understand how you were the only two letting go sub 0.4 on green. And I said, well, I mean, you can look at my delay box, whatever you want to do. So he's asking. And I'm like, well, do you mind me asking you a question? And he said, what? I said, what's the stage to start time at this track? And he goes, well, why would you want to need that? I said, well, I mean, it's information that when you normally get a time slip, it tells you on the bottom of the time slip, stage to start time is this amount of time. I said, think about this. If you give me the stage to start time, right, and I know what my car's 60 foot and how long it takes my car to react, once I stage, I could technically put any delay I wanted in there that I know and let go on nothing, technically. And I have a 0.4 of a second window to open up somebody. Does that make sense?
Yep.
It does make sense, and that is smart.
You see what I'm saying? So,
yeah,
thing you're banking on, which we don't get time tickets ever. I want you guys to imagine to go to the track and just imagine a 16-car shootout. You and 15 of your friends, and all you do is go up there and watch your friends race. You don't get a reaction time. You don't get a 60. You don't get 330. All you get is a win light. And you're like, I think I need to go 3 blah, blah to beat this guy. Well, you got to do that all night. And you got to judge off what your race pack says. You got to know how much faster your car goes off drive shaft, off your G meter. It's really tricky not getting a time slip. And when you don't get a time slip, you got to make adjustments to make your stuff even better. You know, I got people in the stands trying to film people going down the track and try to figure out how fast they're going for the next round, because you have no idea if you need to tune it up or tune it down to go to the next round. So, not getting off the subject, but so going back to the light, I told him, I said, well, I can run, normally on a pro tree, I would run, 0.140 is what I'd run. Because in bracket mode in a car, I run like 1156. Yep. Well, if you run a 4/10 tree, you just drop the 1 off the first decimal and whatever your last digits are. But now, if I don't get a time ticket and it does not say auto start activated, and you go up there and stage and the starter doesn't flip the switch, then guess what? The tree's not going to stage the start time the same. So you're banking on the starter doing his job when you're letting go. What I would do is I would go in and stage, pre-stage, stage. I would try to go in last. Once I go in last, activate the button. No sooner I activate the button, just let go. And you just sit there and pray that the starter had auto start on. And if you do that the same, you still have a 4/10 of a window to make a mistake. Does that make sense?
Yep.
It does, man. And I mean, we should have had you on for episode 1 of this, because I mean, right? I mean, it's just fantastic to hear someone bring this kind of knowledge and experience to the table, because this timing debacle, we've said here on the show, Dean, that we kind of have hated it because every part of this deal has elevated, and it's been good for the No Prep Kings contingent to be more respected by the racing community. And then we get this instant green and people guessing the tree and all this. And it kind of just, I think it was a little bit of a black eye on what has otherwise been a super badass deal.
Mm-hmm. I think Lizzie even mentioned it in one of her interviews, that, now everybody in the crowd thinks that they cut a better light than me. I mean, she just said it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think right? if somebody isn't aware of what's going on, that's what they think. Like, they just think that you're super late off the line. So,
and this is one thing that is an optical illusion too. Nitrous cars run super tight converters, and they don't necessarily launch at a mega high RPM. Roots blower cars, a lot of those guys will leave 5,200, 5,400. Pro Charger cars, 54, 5,600. The screw blower cars, I leave, depending on the surface, I'll leave anywhere between 3,000 and 3,900 RPMs. Well, my car weighs 2,940. A nitrous car will weigh 2,450, 2,500, whatever their stuff is with a tight converter. I can let go before them, and you can watch my top yellow come out before them, but sometimes you'll see Kai's bottom stage bulb go out before me. Even though I let go first and I reacted first, if you watch when the tree actually starts and your wheel leaves out of the stage beam, he'll actually beat me out of the beam just because of those factors. I actually treat him because you can see the top pre-stage drop, but by the getting out of the beams, he's beat me out of the beams, even though I've let go before him. And it's crazy that the amount of power adders, that the difference in it, and how fast the cars move to the 60 foot in different times.
Yep.
That's a great segue, Dean. You are a guy that's got like a car that absolutely still looks like a car. I think it's probably one of the most iconic No Prep Kings cars that exist right now. I'm curious, what do you make of, Justin Swanstrom's got this late model, basically a pro mod car with steel roof and quarters. Ryan Martin, same situation. We've seen some like old Top Sportsman pro mod style cars in the class, or pro stock style cars. What do you make of the direction, I guess, the class is going as far as the cars that are required?
And are you building a new car? Someone in the comments asked, said that you said something on Facebook.
Yeah,
maybe
I asked my fans, because I can't be anybody without my fans. If it wasn't for me, like being on this show, networking with fans, you getting me out there, The fans is what makes this possible. The fans is what makes it possible for Clay to go driving. The fans what makes it possible for Lyle to go driving. The fans make everything turn. They're the
You
ones.
see this, Dean? Christopher Muldrow. Dean needs to be here every week.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah,
so,
they love you, man.
The fans is everything. My thing is, between you, me, and the tree, I'm out of car right now. My car is outdated. Right. I cannot do – my shocks are bottomed out at 9/10 into a second. I've got them almost full compression. I've got every bell and whistle trick thing that Lyle has on his Pro Mod car is on my suspension. And I'm just out of car. My car was built by a guy named Tad Froderman out of Indiana. I don't know if you guys know him or not. The car was originally built to run Super Chevy Sundays 7.0 class. That's what it was built for. I mean, and my buddy that works for Elite, Michael Hunt, found it in a trailer. A guy was doing bad. He was over. He found it. He said, "Man, I found a no prep car for you. You looking for a newer one?" Anyway, make long story short, I ended up getting it. The car had a lot of sentimental value to the guy that owned it. I wanted to keep it as original as possible. It's steel roof, steel doors. It's got steel rockers in it. I mean, it's got a lot of metal in it. It's $29.40 with me in it across the scales at the last one, I think it was. So I, just like anybody else, I want to win. When I show up, if I won't go to a race unless I feel I'm competitive enough to win. I mean, there's no reason to show up if you don't think you can't roll your shit off the trailer and win that race. And I want to do that. I'm struggling. I've got plenty of horsepower, but I'm struggling with the car I have to make it as fast as everybody else's. I can't fit a 36-inch tire on my car. You can on Ryan Martin's car. You can on Scott Taylor's car. You can on Lizzie's car. You can on Kai's car. Obviously, when we're dealing with terrible track surfaces, the more contact patch you can make, the more traction you can put down. I mean, right now, I'm running a 20-inch wide wheel in the back. My wheels are 16 by 20. And what it does is it flattens the contact patch out, so you get more contact patch down track, and the tire doesn't grow narrow. Does that make sense?
It's really a 16 by 20?
Yes, 16 by 20. I'd have 22 on it if they fit. Believe me, I would. So in this situation, I need to build a new car to be competitive. I have to build a new car to be competitive. I can't physically afford to go to Larry Jeffers and say, "Hey, I need to build a new car," or Andy McCoy, or whoever builds cars that people like, Jerry Bickle, whatever. I'm not name dropping any particular order, but I don't have a budget and I don't have funding to go build a $180,000 roller. I don't. My fans drive me. So what makes me is my fans. So I asked my fans before I did anything. I said, "Hey, who would like to see me build a Stinky Pinky 4?" I didn't say build a new car. You know, I didn't do any of that. I just said, "Who wants to see me build a Stinky Pinky 4?" And within a day, there was 1,000 comments in favor of me building another car. So I've been on the lookout for a used, steel roof and quarter car, something that would accommodate a bigger tire. The main problem with what I have now, I love my car and I don't want to sell it. I really don't, but I may be in a position that I have to sell the car to get the new one. The main thing in my car is the front frame rails are 4 inches off the ground. The back frame rails, it's like 8 9/16 or 9 inches off the ground. So the amount of rake in my chassis when it's sitting there is huge. 4.5 inches of rake back.
It's it's anti-bulldogging.
Correct. So I cannot get the chassis to sit low enough, because when you do that, then the tire hits the wheel tub. So I'm running my car as low as I can. And when you get into that situation, then you got spring jackers, air rides on top of the springs that open up, try to raise the car back up. Well, then I've got 170-pound springs on the back, and it doesn't raise the car up. It just compresses the spring. So I'm in a situation, I'm out of car. I'm still pulling timing the whole run. I still have timing out at the finish line. So I've got plenty motor. I just don't have the suspension needed to apply the power to the track. So in this case, I want to win. I want to make a run for the championship next year. I feel I have a top 5 car all the time, and it's just always on its edge. If you watch the show, every single time you see me down track, this thing's dog tracking. It looks like I'm sliding sideways through there.
It does.
Wrong, it's loose. It's loose a lot of the times. But fat boy in the driver's seat, when I weigh in on my clothes and everything, I'm like 330. I got 5/8 rear steer in this car to make it leave the first 200 feet straight. And it will leave straight the first 200 feet on the back tires, dragging the wheelie bars, tipping the wheels. But as soon as you bang second or third, that rear, if it knocks the tire loose just a little bit, that rear steer takes over. Then I'm just power sliding like Sammy Swindell through the finish line all the time.
Okay, listen, if you're not a fan of Disco Dean, this is a drag racing son of a gun. I mean, for all the people that think these No Prep King guys don't have like real deal drag racing pedigrees, you need to get like your medication checked out, because I mean, you're not going to get a more detailed breakdown. Am I wrong? Clay, Lyle? I mean, am I wrong?
No,
you're not
right.
going to get a more detailed drag racing centric perspective. I mean, this guy's talking about rear steer. I mean, all the things we like to talk about. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's shocking, man. So do you, I mean, the business model probably supports it, right, Dean?
What's
like,
that mean?
Building a new car.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to be in the, I mean, you don't want to not be in this. I mean, you're one of the guys.
And you got guys like Justin Swanstrom, who's building a new car this year. And what was he, third in points after the
second, I think.
And he
or second? Was he second? Or,
just built a new car before that. I mean, he just built Lexus this year. So my main thing is, I want to keep my image. You know, I'd love to build a muscle car. I'd love to build a 60s, 70s. You know how many fans come up to me? I had a 66 Chevelle in high school, or my dad took me to the movies in a 66 Chevelle 4-speed. That's great when I touch all those fans like that. And I mean, it's awesome. But there comes a time where if I want to win, I have to make some type of change. And this is where the borderline is going to be. This is where I don't know how to protect this. Okay. I do not want this to turn into NASCAR at all. I don't want everybody to have the same shit. You know what I mean? Right now, the go-to car is a Camaro.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
That's across the board, though.
You know what I mean? If it's a 69, a 2018, 2019, 2017, 2021, and fans will get tired of watching the same car go down the track.
Yep.
You will not see me build a Mustang, and you'll not see me build a Camaro. I promise you that. You know what I mean? What
about real quick, just to throw this out there, I just had this epiphany, and now I have had like 2 Yetis of vodka.
Yeah.
But what about, like, it's funny, everybody talks like, oh, there's too many 69 Camaros, there's too many 2018. Nobody seems to say there's too many 1987 Camaros.
Correct.
Let's get us an IROC out here.
Now, that's
you know what I mean?
Kai's territory, because that's
with
him and Bobby Ducati.
Yeah, exactly. So my main thing is, you know, to be competitive, I mean, aerodynamics is a factor, obviously, but another factor is wowing the fans. I mean, to me, if you got Lyle running his twin turbo pro mod next to me and he warms up and puts it on the popper and people's like, oh, that's awesome. And then I get over there and start my screw blower car and put on the popper and rev it to 5,500. People are like, oh God, wow. So you have to have the diversity, different power adders, different style chassis, different style bodies. If everybody builds a Camaro or a Mustang or whatever, I mean, it's going to get boring. And I really hope that everybody just doesn't build a brand new Camaro, even though it's the go-to. It's one of the most aerodynamic. It's wide. It's low. It's a good handling car. It's a good looking car. But fans want to see different cars. When they come to the drag races back in the 60s and 70s, I mean, you would see anywhere from Chevettes to 53 Corvettes to Corvairs. I mean, they made race cars out of everything. And that's what people want to see. They want to see your imagination brought to life, and then they can come touch it. They can come watch it. I've seen that on the TV. Now I can go to my local track, and they're going to be there, and I can go see it in person, you know?
Yeah.
And when they're all the same car, it's going to be a bad thing. It's going to do like what NASCAR did when everybody had the same body style, and they all just put different stickers on it, you know?
So what's the answer to it, Dean?
Well, that's the problem, is because I can't stop Wes Buck from building a Camaro. It's your car. It's your money. You can do what you want. I can't stop Clay Millican from building a Camaro. But it's just, what do you do? How do you control that? All right, there's 11 Camaros in no prep. No more Camaros. You
got to give them some incentive. You got to give them some incentive to build something different. And we talked about it before you came on tonight, whether it's weight breaks or whatever you got to do to get Craig Sullivan to bring his Mercury to Z-Max for the 4-wides next year, or however you want to put it. Like, there's got to be some incentive there, right? You know, so what do you do about it? I mean, is Paramount or is Sam, are they going to be like, hey, you know what, next year, anything pre-1965 get 75 pounds off.
Correct. I mean, some type of incentive to build a muscle car, or
Right.
weight break off, or wheelbase added, or something. I mean, as you can see,
that's a good point.
As you can see, the producers are doing an excellent job of keeping everybody close. It's all side-by-side racing. It's not really lopsided. I know the Pro Charger's doing good this year, and the Turbos do good like they always have. In my situation, the screw blower has not won the 40 grand invitational side yet at all. Cody Baker has won with a Mike Janis blower and the root side on the 40 grand. I run it up to Jeff in the final, and that's as close as I've got. And I really wanted to be the first screw blower to win. I really wanted to be the first screw blower to win because I've been doing this so long. But unfortunately, it wasn't my night, wasn't my time. Do I have the power to win? Yes, I do. Do I have untapped motor that I'm using? Yes, I do. Do I have the budget to run it like a Stevie Jackson or a Jim Wheatley or any of those guys? No, I don't. So, I don't shift my stuff at 10.2, 10.6. I'm an 88, 92 guy. Ooh, we got Ryan Martin second round. Let's go 92, 94. Oh, we're in the semis. Let's go 94, 96. I don't come out first round shifting 94, 96. That's a final round only type of deal for me. And that's because I run out of my right front pocket. And when the right front pocket is done, I'm done. So I run to the fast as my ability will allow me. Will my car go faster? Yes. Can I be faster? Yes. Can I afford to do that? No. So I run as fast as my budget allows. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we're never going to be able to do another episode of this show. He's literally, Dean has destroyed us. This is, I don't even know what we did to deserve this. And this kind of insight is incredible.
You believe last year you didn't even let me and Lindsay in the party? Huh,
I'm sorry, Lindsay. I don't know how that came to be.
We waited out there in the cold, didn't we, babe?
We'll make it right. It was JT's fault, and we'll make it right this year.
I drank too much, evidently.
Possible. Dean, I got to say,
said nobody ever.
Bracket racers aren't known as like go fast guys, right?
Correct.
So where does this, you have, to hear you talk about going through the finish line with timing taken out of it, to hear you talking about screw blowers, and where has that always been in your repertoire, or has that been like a relatively new kind of development to Dean Karns' drag racing skills?
Next time you have Luke Bogacki or
I love
or Gary, next time you have any of those guys, I'm friends with any of those guys, you ask them who the first person to really bring blowers to bracket racing was. I came out and I was running 871 with dual carbs on a big block Chevy, and it was unheard of. To have a power adder and bracket racing was unheard of. And I ran this thing in 2000. What year was that first year I built the white trash car, babe? 04?
Yeah.
Like 04, 02, somewhere around there. I don't quote me on the year, but there was no power adder bracket cars. That was like, no, you're going to hurt your shit. Don't do that. So, me and Kenny Underwood traveled the country together, and me and him was in the final many a times. And I had an 871 blower, two small carburetors, two 750s, not Dominators. And at the time, I was probably 120 pounds lighter. I'm a fat ass now. But I would run, back then, 444 to 439 in 2000 and whatever year that was I built that car. And everyone's like, oh, you can't win, you can't win, you can't win. I won 3 or 4 10 granders. I won a 25 grander. I run it up a 50 grander to TJ Coughlin. He's 6, did 2, and I'm like 5, did 3. It was all zeros at the finish line. Never forget that run. And I won, and I won. And then at the end of the year, I sold that car and I built another car. Well, then I learned how the blower worked, and I didn't need 871. So then I built a 671 with small carbs, and then my car would go 430s. And I ran 439 to whatever it was, somewhere in there. And I won a lot of races. I think in 1 year, not all like 10 granders, 20 granders, 30 granders, but throughout the whole year, I won 23 races. And I won both spring flings. I won a spring fling in Bristol. I won the spring fling in Vegas. I was, at that time, I was one of the only people to win at both events, And I won so much that year. It was just amazing. And that car was called the Pink Taco. That was one of my favorite cars. And then at the end of that year, that was around 2000. It was like around 2000, 12 or 13. Then here come the blowers. Everybody's got a 6. Everybody's got a 6. Here comes the Pro Charger.
I love tacos.
You like tacos, Lyle?
Especially pink ones.
We all love tacos.
That was
Let's
it.
go.
That was one of my favorite dragsters ever. And then here
I
comes
guarantee
everybody bolting on 6s. Everybody's bolting on 8s. Everybody's bolting on 14s. All of a sudden, it's blowers everywhere. It's Pro Chargers coming up, and all this started becoming real big. Well, then it kind of died down just a little. The Pro Charger picked up because the blowers loud. People could run the Pro Charger with a single carburetor. It'd idle low. It would use less fuel. It was more like a naturally aspirated motor with a Pro Charger. Well, then TBS invented that little mini blower, that little micro 250 thing that you just throw it right on your 565 Chevy or your 582. Just bolt. You don't need to change cam. You don't need to do nothing. Put it on there and pick up half a second. Now you go through the pits of the bracket race. I'm telling you, 70% of the dragsters have a mini blower on them. And I'm not saying that's because of me or nothing, but it's because everybody wants to go fast. They think fast is the key, but you want to do it economically. When I did it with the 6 and the 8, I mean, you got to buy pulleys, you got to buy, belt guards, you got to buy blower restraints. And people are like, and then they get scared of it. Man, I got to put all that money out to do this and that. Well, now you got this little blower, you buy the whole kit, and you just bolt it right on and go racing and pick up half a second. And it's working. I mean, everybody has them out there. And now it's like if you show up and you're not running 440s in your dragster, you ain't nobody. I'm talking, these guys even have single carbureted, nationally aspirated dragsters running 430s.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I was having a power adder doing 430s, in 2007, 8, whatever. Now they're doing it with just a single carburetor. That is nuts.
What do you think of bracket racing right now? Clay, you talked about the Britain Slate's guaranteed million coming up at next weekend in Montgomery. What do you make of the bracket racing scene right now? Like, it wasn't that long ago that we had the million, right? Based on car count, not a shot, but like the original million,
the OG,
then the OG million. Then we had the Great American Guaranteed Million. We had the SFG million. Like, can bracket racing really support that many of these big money races? Because it seems like you can race for $250,000, $500,000, $1 million, damn near as much as you want to right now.
Were you talking to me or Clay?
Both of you guys.
Go
Clay,
ahead, Clay. I'm wearing these guys out. Clay, you go ahead.
No, you ain't wearing nobody out.
Well, I tell you what, I mean, you look, the OG looked like they had a pretty successful weekend. That was a couple weeks ago. And I've talked to Britt. They've got what looks like a good car count coming up. But I want to jump back to the blowers and the Pro Chargers and all that in bracket racing. Then you think, and you mentioned Kenny Underwood, one of the greatest of all time, but there's a guy out there right now that is just making bank in a little Pontiac. Nasty Nick Hastings doing it, running, what's that thing run? Like 680s or 7 flats disco somewhere in there, and he is just killing
Astra, the thing that looks like a Chevette. Yeah, Nick is nasty, and he's from around this area. I've raced with him for years. He is the best, one of the best bottom bulbers in the country. That 100%. Means letting go off the bottom with no delay box whatsoever.
Yep,
just natural ability on the bottom. He is one of the best. I would say him. And a local guy here, you guys probably never heard of, probably Doug Kaplinger. Those are the two best guys I've ever seen letting go off the bottom. They let go off the bottom like we could do with the delay box off the top. It's just, It's an amazing, amazing ability that they have to discipline themselves to block the tree out on the other side and only see that bottom. If you've never bottom bulb raced with a trans brake, that is one of the hardest style of racing you will ever do. I promise you that.
Absolutely. But as far as bracket racing, I mean, I think, it's probably self-adjusting a little bit, but the big money is still here and the cars are still showing up. And I mean, it's just amazing to me that the bracket racers can support that. During COVID, it was like wide open, you just get out there and get after it. I mean, SFG had 700 cars in Michigan or whatever it was, for their big race. And the Great American Guaranteed was sold out here in Memphis last year. And I don't know that it's going to be a sellout this year, but like I say, it's amazing. Crazy money being paid out for guys that, yes, you got to dig in that pocket and get that entry fee out and get ready to go. But the payout is absolutely incredible. It is by far, the biggest paying thing in drag racing, period. And I mean, the people are still coming up, showing out for it. That's for sure.
One thing that I wish that would really happen in bracket racing in particular, I mean, obviously you can see that the racers pay the purse.
Yep.
I mean, it's rare to see 300 spectators at a bracket race.
Yep.
And unlike No Prep and unlike NHRA or Top Fuel or Pro Mod or anything, people don't understand bracket racing. It's too many numbers, too complicated. Why did this car leave at a different time? Why did he get there first and not win? People don't understand that. And that's one of the things that makes No Prep Kings so big. It's a green light and a win light.
Yep.
Very elementary. Two cars leave, one win light comes on. Very simple to understand. That's basic drag racing. It's up drag racing. I'll always be a bracket racer for life. I'll always go to bracket races. I host 2 bracket races. Me and my buddy Josh, we host them at Killcare 2 times a year. We do the Little Banger, we do the Star Spangled Banger. One at Halloween, we do trick or treating for the kids, all that stuff. We've had 600 cars last year at a bracket race for a 5, 6, and a 7. But we get a lot of sponsors to give back prizes. There is a big money bracket race every other weekend within about 12 hours of driving if you're on the Midwest of the country. Back in the day, it was you had to live Memphis or South, and you were a bracket racer. You were Edmund, you were Scotty, whoever you were, Johnny LaBouse. You lived South, and you bracket race for a living. That's where you had to be. Now it's this whole Midwest region. There's a 50 grander every other weekend. And just like you said, Wes, when will it stop? Is there a point where these bracket racers will go broke to go racing?
Jimmy Owen says the big money races are actually hurting the local tracks regular bracket program. But on the other hand, though, at least these guys are getting to go out and race for some big money because they deserve that as well.
Yeah, the past 2 years of bracket racing has to be the most money on the table able to win, period, over a couple years combined. Now, that is excellent for the bracket racer. Who it's not excellent for is the guy that goes out there and gets best losing package 3rd and 4th round 4 weekends in a row. I'm going to spend $1,500 to run for $1 million, or I'm going to spend $1,000 to run for $500,000, and I go 3 or 4 rounds and I'm good, and I'm 008 and dead on 2, and I'm going home. Well, then, all right, I got to keep my head up. I'm going to treat it just like playing blackjack. You keep playing the numbers, you keep doing your thing, and sooner or later the percentages will change your way. And then you go to the next race, and your 005 did 2, and you're out 5th round, and you get $400 back, and you're out $600 in fuel. You do that 3 or 4 times, it tests your mentality, it tests your skill, it wears you down, and you call them bad beats, just like a poker player gets a bad beat. You lay down a good lap and you get beat. There's nothing to hold your head down about, but then you're like, what else can I do better to win? I'm laying down 00 packages and getting beat. What else can I do? Well, when you're running for that much money, those people are doing the same things you're doing every night. They're hitting the practice tree. They're going to test and tune. They're getting their car. I remember one night before I was heading for a 30 grander, me and Lindsay was laying down, and I've been hitting the practice tree, and I try not to hit it like for hours at a time. I'll try to hit it 6, 8 times in a row, walk away, 6, 8 times in a row, walk away. I lay down in bed. She flipped the light on my arm, went like that. She goes, honey, I think you're ready.
It's the best story ever.
I mean, and I said, I think I'm ready, babe. But it's amazing that there's this much racing available at this time in what's going on with America and what's going on with our world, that you can just take your car and go on the road 4 weeks straight and bracket race, go to Georgia, go to Alabama, go back to Alabama, go to Florida, do the winter series. Me and my dad used to take off and go to the Million, go to South Georgia, go to Bradenton, go to Immokalee, go to Moroso or West Palm, and then come home and hit House of Hook. And that was our winter series. That's what we do bracket racing. And some of those races were 4 or 5 days straight. And now they're doing that throughout the whole season. I mean, most of these bracket racers either are self-employed or have good jobs or do something with cars or mechanical or something so they can take off time to be able to do this. And that's a blessing. That's a blessing that all these people have money right now, that they all have jobs and they have customers, and that we're able to race in the way this economy is. I mean, right now you go down to McDonald's, there's 2 people working and you can't even go in and sit down and eat. You know, it's terrible, but there's jobs out there, but it's just terrible that we're in this situation with what's going on, you know, and the market is absolutely crazy. If you get on there and look for a race car or a toter or a trailer, it's on there for like 2 hours. Sold. I mean, I don't understand where it's all coming from, where it's going, but
I've said the same thing. Like, everybody I talk to is like, man, we can't keep up with this stuff. Like, and you're right. I mean, you can't buy a nice trailer. You can't buy. I mean, this stuff is worth its weight in gold. And I mean, you get a turnkey car for sale, that thing is gone.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm going, where is this shit? Where is it coming from? And where's it going?
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like, but you know what? You make a great point, and it's kind of some great closing notes here, is that how blessed are we to get to do this, right? I mean, I'm talking to 3 of the biggest stars that our sport has to offer right now. Clay Millican,
thank you.
the highest level of our sport. Lyle, Barnett, NHRA Pro Mod. I've often said that to be the final frontier for pro modified style drag racing. Disco Dean, No Prep Kings, without question, one of the biggest platforms that exist in our sport, if not the biggest. We're some lucky dudes.
Yes. And, you know, I used to look at it, like I said previously, Pat Dakin lives in my town. I'm always going over there hanging out with Scoots. He's teaching me stuff about how the clutch works on the top. My goal in life has always been to drive a top fuel car. What kid has not wanted to be in Clay Millican's shoes, you know? And I always wear Pat out. Come on, put me in. He's like, fat ass, when you lose 200 pounds, I'll put you in. He knows I can lose 200. He knows I can lose 100, but I can't lose 200. And I'm always wearing him out. Put me in the seat. Come on, Pat, put me, you know, and I know I'm wearing the stuff, you know, wearing him thin. But my main thing is, like, in Clay Millican's position, okay, let's be honest. The hardest thing in this world in drag racing is to get a seat in a top fuel car if you have no funding. Clay Millican is a badass racer, badass driver, right? Back in the day, if you had skill, hey, Clay, get in this seat. We need you. Now, it's not like that at all. It's what can you bring to the table? In my whole life, I've wanted to drive a top fuel car. And in the position I'm in right now, look at Clay's position. There's technically 16 seats in the whole United States out there running. There may be 18 or 19. You got a couple Lex Junes, a couple Pat Dakins, you know. But if you were growing up as a kid right now and you're watching NHRA on Sunday and you're like, I want to drive a top fuel car, Dad, there's only 16 seats out there for you to get your butt in. And most of them are filled right now. Yep. In Clay Millican's shoes, he's doing something that I've always dreamed of doing, you know. And I met Scott Palmer a couple weeks ago. I helped him out. He came to a no prep race. I helped him out, helped him with his grid. And he's like, dude, what do I owe you? I said, you don't owe me nothing, dude. He's like, what? He said, you come down. It's 3 a.m. Them guys were struggling on the car. They had some problems. We think we fixed it. We didn't fix it. It was a different issue. But he's like, man, anything you ever need. And I'm just fucking with him. I'm like, yeah, I need to ride in that top fuel car. He said, anytime. I'm like, I'll take you up on that.
He'd probably let you too. I mean, that's just how he is. Right?
He told me that first, Dean, and I get fucking first dibs, so you can back up for just a second.
So
he told me the same shit. So
so in my situation, I'm looking up to people like, you know, Clay Millican and Pat Dakin and Don Perdome and all these people. I'm like, man, I want to do that so bad. I want to do that top fuel so bad. I worked on alcohol funny car team for 5-6 years. I did bottom end. I mean, I've done all the stuff, you know, but now then I look at my position. Now I'm racing on a TV show where there's only 32 guys, you know, and I'm getting paid to do something I love. And I'm still chasing the top fuel dream. I still want to do that. I mean, NHRA top fuel is the epitome of drag. That is the highest of the high. Funny car or top fuel, that is the land.
You hear that, Clay? You need to hear that. I'm serious, brother. I mean, as someone who loves you, you need to hear that from time to time.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's important.
You're doing things that, I mean, realistically, how many people have driven top fuel since its conception in 1950, whatever, when the class was started? There's not that many people that's driven a top fuel car. There hasn't, you know? Right. And now I'm doing something on TV. We're basically driving steel roof and quarter, heavy ass pro mods, basically. You know, they're still roof and quarter car. They are overweight, tons of power on a track that is not prepared whatsoever, and it's televised. And these people are looking up to me the same way they're looking up to Clay, or the same way they looked up to Don Garlitz, or the same way they looked up to Shirley Muldowney or Erica Enders. And now I'm in that same position that I've always wanted to be in. I'm still not in Top Fuel, but I'm doing something I love every day and every weekend. There's nothing better in the world than doing a job and getting paid for it. And it's something you wake up wanting to do and not wanting to do it. Does that make sense?
100%.
You're gonna have, I'm about to cry.
And I think
I
think Clay would agree with me, because we've both been. I've been to several No Prep Kings events. I've raced at them, but I've stood on the starting line when Disco Dean let go of the button right beside Papa Disco. I've been on the starting line when all the big names have let go of the button. And Clay can agree, because he just went to one not long ago. I want to do what Disco Dean does. Marty Robertson will tell you that. Richard Freeman will tell you that, because we've talked about it. I get to race at the top level of door slammer drag racing. Clay Millican races at the top level of drag racing, period. And both want to get in Disco Dean Stinky Pinky and rip down the road at Cordova or at Darlington or any of these podunk drag strips that y'all go to. We want to do that. I do.
Yeah.
I know Clay does, but I know for a fact that I do. Like, I want to do that.
You know, Lyle, I'll take that 5/8 of rear steer out, and I'll take him short pedals off, and you can hop in there and try to wheel her down.
All I need is a tall Fred Flintstone brake, just where I can drag it just a little bit. You know, we would
Dean, you may
get her back right.
That may be good for a new T-shirt. One of the comments in the comment section said 5/8 of rear steer. Tim McCamus just shit someone else's pants.
I saw that.
If your shit ain't got 5/8 rear steer, you ain't doing it right.
You ain't shit. Yeah.
When the driver's over 300, man, you got to start with 9/16, or you ain't going straight.
Dude,
either that or you bolt another 200 on the passenger side and go back to about an 1/8 or a 16th. Then you're
seriously, Dean, Clay, Lyle, of course, my brother-in-law, Murder Tundra, JT. Thank you guys so much, man. I do think you make like the ultimate point that drag racing is something that we get to do. That's not lost on us. I don't think that's lost on anybody here tonight. I hope it's not lost on anybody. If there's ever a point that we've driven home at Drag Illustrated or on our show on Wednesday afternoons, I hope it's that everybody realizes how lucky we are to get to do something like this, whether it's Streetcar Takeover in Oklahoma, or whether it's Top Fuel, or whether it's Nostalgia Funny Car, or bracket racing, or high school drags, junior drag shows. We're so lucky that we get to go do this every weekend. It's this is something that I hope everybody recognizes. It's about having fun. We all want to do well. We all want to win, but most of us aren't earning our living. We want doing this. Some of us are, but most of us are trying to have a good time, enjoy time with our families. And I hope all of you guys kind of take that home with you as we leave the show and head off into our weeks. It's good to be reminded how lucky we are to get to do this. Dean, thank you so much. I know we've tied you up for over an hour. I'd love to have you on here again. You're an incredible guest. We didn't get to talk that much about the show. Clay, Lyle, always a fantastic time. I will ask real quick, and we'll kind of close it because we've hardly talked about tonight's episode of No Prep Kings at all. Were you at all surprised to see this Corvette kind of come out of Eric in that late model Corvette, the old dragzine.com car? I mean, kind of come out of left field. Do you think there's any chance we're going to see some more guys come out of left field in 2020, 21 and beyond? I mean, are there some hitters that are going to show up and surprise us, Dean?
Well, this is what happens with the show, okay? Obviously, it's a select few group of people, and there's a reason for that. I don't know the reason. I don't make TV shows. I don't produce them. But whatever they're doing is right, and whatever they're doing gets the fans. Obviously, the car was a proven car before we started. We know, if I'm not mistaken, that was James Lawrence's car, was it? And I know he did a lot of testing. Eric did, and he come out just ready to stomp a mud hole in everybody's ass. And he did. His car is fast. But then again, here we go back to what we're at. That's pretty much a state-of-the-art car. It's coming out. It's a new body style vet. It's aerodynamic. It's light. It's got the newest power adders on it, you know. And that's what happens. That goes to show you what a chassis, what a motor and trans, what that combination will do when they walk in. Obviously, he tests. He knows what he's doing. He's hauling ass. All I can say is keep watching, because it gets trickier within the next couple episodes. You know, I mean, you got to stay tuned for sure. But yes, absolutely, there will always be, you know, the class is future street outlaws. If you have a car that is still roof and quarter and you want to come race, obviously you can't.
They're talking to us, Lyle. They're talking to us.
Obviously, you can't be on the invitational side. You have to prove yourself. You have to prove you're fast. You have to prove that your car is good. You have to prove you're good on camera. And that's what the future class is for. So anybody that wants to do this, you can show up and race the future street outlaw class. And not only can you do that, you can show up and run big tire outlaw. So if you have Lyle's Pro Mod, he can bring that thing on Saturday and run big tire outlaw. There's a class for that. If you're a bracket racer, you can come and run the 7.0 index class. If you have anything 7.0, if you're a daily driver and you got a minivan and 3 kids, you can show up and drive the daily driver class. And of course, if you got a small tire car, you can show up and run the small tire car. So there are classes for kind of everybody to be there. But to be on the invitational side and the side that you're watching, you got to put in work. You got to come race your future street outlaw class. You got to win. You got to be to a bunch of the races. Show that you can travel the country. Show that you're determined, and show that you want to be a true outlaw. And that's what that class does. It separates the men from the boys. Like I'm saying, we started this first race in, where's the first one at? Ohio. Don't quote me, but I want to say there was like 48 to 56 cars the first race. This is all going for the points. There's that many cars. And then the second race, there's, 38, 42. Then the next race, there's 46, 44. It weeds the men from the boys out. When you got a full-fledged Hemi with a screw blower or a 959 and it needs rings every 10 passes and you turn the 6 kit on, you need pistons.
And that's 2.5 inches of rear steer.
And then not on top of that, you race Saturday, burn it up, load up Sunday. You got to be in Florida by next Friday, and you got to service your car and do it all again and do it consecutively, and then do it week to week to week to week, back to back to back, and then get a 2-week break in the middle. I mean, this was a grueling schedule. It is a grueling schedule, and it takes away from your family. It takes away from your job. I own a window tint shop. It takes away from your business. It takes away from your holidays. Drag racing will make you go broke if you don't watch what you're doing, because that car right there will eat every bit of money you put in that ejector and shit it right out. And you got to say when. You know what I mean?
Speaking of that, like Clay was all over Vegas, during SEMA. I mean, like, you were out every night doing something fun and networking and hanging out with some cool people. And Lyle just got back from winning another Pro Mod race. And
congrats, Lyle. I saw that.
Yep.
Thanks,
show us that new Wally there.
Look at this guy.
Yeah, I love this. It's like gloss black.
What is it? Platinum edition?
Black chrome. Look at this guy.
Oh, nice.
Dun, dun, dun,
Look at
dun,
that.
dun, dun, dun.
Is that for only having a 16th of rear steer? Is that why they did that?
Yeah, so that's a rule, maximum of a 16th of an inch. So in other words, if you're gonna come race with us, you got to lose a little bit there.
They did it for like the 1,000. I guess it was the. I didn't. I feel like they didn't do a great job of promoting that. Not to back on NHRA.
No, I didn't know it. Like, I didn't even know it was
1,000th.
I didn't know it was 1,000th NHRA national event until I came in the staging lanes for Q1 and they handed me the poker chip. And I was like, I mean, I know it's Vegas. And then I looked and I'm like, oh, I guess this is a big deal.
Hey, I thought when I saw Cruz Pendergon with it, or which Pendergon it was, I thought, damn, that dude did 1,000 wins already. I didn't
Well, Wes, you thought that they gave me some janky trophy.
I was mad because
I
I spent like a day and a half pissed off because I saw a picture of Lyle's trophy and I'm like, if they gave him some half-assed version of that Wally, I am going to burn their offices down.
Like, they don't own offices anymore.
Yeah, that's true. I was full blown.
Well, I guess it's their house then.
Yeah, somebody's home office. But
save the dogs.
I was so excited. Save the dogs. Save the puppies. Get them outside. But I literally was. I thought, man, they gave this guy. Like, when are they going to do these people right? Like they don't deserve to race for miniature Wallies or spray painted black Wallies or whatever the deal's going to be. And then I was glad to find out that it was because it was the 1,000.
No, they are pretty bad.
All that stuff was pretty badass.
Wow, you know what you should have did?
What?
You should have took both them Wallies right down to downtown Las Vegas and went to Pawn Stars and said, listen, this black one here is one of a kind, Rick. How much can you give me for this black Wally that I got right here?
You should have made the show. Hell yeah.
Hey, man, this is rare. You can look up all the Wallies. You'll never find one of these as of right now. This is one of one, man.
What do you think? You think I could have got $1 million for it?
I mean, I'd have told him it was worth $1 million. If he gave you $500,000, I'd sign that bitch over instantly, dude. Next year, dude, for real.
That's a fact. Because I got an order sheet when I left the track, I just order another one. We could have showed back the day. This is 2 and 2, man. Look, I got another one.
What? Okay, I wasn't gonna let this happen, and then we're gonna let you go. But there's like 700 comments. Can we get Dean's bathroom story? I've got a little bit of a.
Oh, look, he looked his old lady.
Dean, I was going to ask you.
How good?
Like, Lindsay, please let him tell it. But Dean, you got to follow that up. You've got to follow that up with Papa Disco's story about the alligator in Florida,
where he got bit. Oh, he got bit. I'm sorry. I'm trying to grab a charger because I've talked so long. My phone's on 4%. Give me just a second here. But so what story you want to know? The Papa Disco or the 7-Eleven story?
I don't know. I mean, I guess we're getting requests from the crowd, so I don't know. Start with your favorite, maybe.
Okay. Well, okay. As you guys know, I'm pretty open-minded, pretty just wide open. You know, if I tell you a rooster pull a semi, you better hook the son of a bitch up. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? So me and Lindsay are at No Prep Kings, West Palm. Okay. We've already raced. We're going to take 2 days, Sunday and Monday, relax, get a hotel, sit on the beach, whatever. So we go out having some drinks, cocktails. We go to a real nice restaurant. We eat. We stop on the way home. We're like, hey, babe, let's just go hit one of these, skanky ass bars up. It was called, what was the name of it, hon?
Treasure Island, maybe.
Treasure Island or Pirates Cove or something. Just
something, I don't know.
It was, right off the beach, maybe a mile and a half from our hotel. So we go in there, we're bullshitting, we have a couple drinks or whatever, and then we get our bill, we hang out, and I'm like, ooh.
You eat the bar food.
Yeah, they had some bar food. It was like cheese curds or whatever, just typical bar food. I'm like, oh, let's get that.
Fried crab.
Deep fried, what is it? Deep fried crab. Deep fried crab. So we get that. So I get ready to get up, and I'm like, ooh, babe, I got a shit. Like, this thing just hit me. When one of them shits hits you, and you're like, I got to go to the bathroom, like, within the next 2 or 3 minutes. Well, I said, look up the hotel, babe. How far is it? She's like, 1.7 miles. I'm like, I can make it. She's like, just go here. So I go back to that bathroom in the bar, Pirates Cove or wherever it is, and it's closed. Like, bathroom's out of order, bud. You got to go. Okay, no problem. So we get in the car, and I'm like, all right, just go to the hotel, babe. It's cool. Well, no sooner she gets on the road and hit a little bump, I'm like, babe, I got to go. I got to go like now. So cool. pull in that Texaco. I got the bubble guts. I got to go now. I said, pull in the Texaco first. Yeah. We pulled in Texaco. The pumps were open. The inside was closed. Get back on the road. Let's go. So the next one is 7-Eleven. So she's not even stopping. She's pulling up to the parking block. I got the door open. I'm running in. I run full-fledged sprint to the bathroom door, and it's locked. I'm like, oh, shit. I grab the ladies' door. It's locked. I'm like, oh, shit. I duck waddle back up to the front because it's ready to explode. I'm duck waddling up. And I'm like, dude, man, where is the key to the bathroom? He's like, it's hanging on the corner. Well, I'm looking on the corner all over. I can't find it nowhere. And finally, it's like hanging up on the corner. Like when you come in the door, the entrance is way up there. So I grabbed it. It's got one of them big, long things. This is the bathroom key. Do not steal the bathroom key. So I grabbed this thing, and I'm running. I'm already undoing my pants, dude, and I'm running to the bathroom. And I'm like, I am not shitting myself. No sooner than I got the key in the door and unlocked the door, I drop in my pants and turn around. I couldn't even make it to the toilet. I could not make it to the toilet. It came out everywhere. I'm talking. It came out on the plunger. It came out on the toilet. It came out on the wall. It came out on the cleaner. And I sat down and I felt so, when you take a bad shit and you're like, gosh, damn, I feel better. Like, I look up. I never even shut the door. These people are walking in, and I'm like, oh god. And dude, I'm telling you, it was like the biggest relief I've ever had. Like,
I bet nobody asked for your autograph when you walked out of there.
Listen, so that was the fastest 60 foot out of my rear any turd ever made. It was everywhere, right? I'm like, gosh damn. So I duck waddle to the door, shut the door. I'm like, let me get some toilet paper. No toilet paper. None. Not one bit of toilet paper in here at all. So I'm looking around like, what am I going to do here? I mean, what can I do? So they have, you remember in like grade school, they had that brown burlap stuff on a roll, like to wipe your hands off. I'm like, oh man, and they had it in the little pieces you pulled off, and it's just like 4 inches by 8 inches. You know what I'm talking about? So I'm like, well, I'll start to clean this toilet up. I can't do this, you know? So I go to clean the toilet up, and all it does is just smear shit like some Da Vinci painting all over this toilet, dude. And I'm trying to smear it. Before I know it, I got like 11 toilet paper things wrapped up. I'm like, this toilet ain't even going to flush. So I just pulled my pants up. That's it. I said, I'm done. I pulled my pants up. I walked out there, washed my hands. I know what I'm doing. I washed my hands. I walked out there, set the key on the counter. The dude looked at me, and I looked at him, and that was it. That was eye contact. I got in the car. Babe, go. Babe, go. She's like, what? I said, go. So we get to the hotel, right? Get to the hotel, and she's like, what happened in there? I said, listen, babe, we have got to pray for this guy. She's like, what? I said, we need to hold our hands, and we need to pray for this guy that he doesn't quit his job tonight. And she said, why? I said, babe, I promise you, this guy is going to go in there on his late night shift, and he has to clean the bathroom before he leaves. And he's going to walk out and go, hell fucking no. I'm not cleaning this shit up, literally. So me and Lindsay held our hands together. Did we not pray for him, babe?
We prayed for a while.
I prayed. I said, please, Jesus, please do not let this guy quit his job. I'm sorry that I shit myself and shit all over this bathroom. I could not do anything else, but please, Lord, let this guy hit the lottery tonight. Let his manager give him a bonus. Let him not quit and walk out on that shit and not come back the next day and be able to provide for his family. So we prayed that night. I'm serious. We prayed probably 15, 20 minutes, 2 or 3 times for this guy. We really did. And then Big Head Tony McKinney was with me the next day. He's like, man, let's go to that 7-Eleven, see what that bathroom looks like. I'm like, dude, don't pull in there. He's like, wow, you'll get arrested, man. They'll arrest you for doing that shit. I'm like, just keep driving, please, man. So every time he'd pull in the parking lot real slow, and we come back by there. He's like, I'm going to go in there. I'm like, dude, don't. He's like, they got your face on camera. They're looking for you right now.
like a wanted poster on the wall. You know?
Yeah. I don't know how they missed a 300-pound fat guy in a pink shirt. They'd have known who did it.
Yeah. This guy did a shitty. You know, this guy has done a shitty.
That's it. So that's the 7-Eleven story. And at PRI, Wes, I'll show you the proof because I took a picture of it. That's it. It's for real.
Hey, well, Dean, thank you. You have stolen the show tonight. No surprise. And I appreciate your time so much. Please send our thanks to your wife.
Lindsay said thank you.
Thank you for letting us steal him.
Thank you.
And we look forward to seeing you at PRI. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much, brother.
Hey, I want, and I'm not scared to let people know that Lyle Barnett has beat me in horsepower wars. Didn't you beat me, Lyle? Did me and you race or not?
No.
Did I race him though?
Oh, I thought
you never
race or no?
No, you never made it to me.
Man, don't you do that now? You know what happened.
I mean, I'm just saying.
How did you know what would happen if we didn't argue about that qualifying sheet? That dude had that illegal turbo on there. You know what would have happened if not? You would have had to run that first round. Remember that?
Look, you got beat by the degenerate he is. What even is his name? I've already forgot it.
Dwayne or something like that, wasn't it?
Whatever, Dwayne, whatever they call it. They called him something back in the day, but he ain't worth talking about now.
Hey, I got that car in my garage.
Still?
Yeah, I got it in the garage. It's sitting out there, dude.
Have you done anything with it?
I've ordered. I'm going to get Lindsay in it this coming year, but I got it switched over. I got an alcohol carburetor for it and stuff, but not on gas. And
so we got a rematch coming up.
Yeah. That's what I want. Yeah, but you've been wearing your shit out. My shit's in here.
I have been wearing my shit out. It's on generation 3.
Lyle races beer money more than anything.
Yeah,
I do.
Congratulations, man. You've been kicking ass in that, Carlisle. I'm proud of you, bud.
We have had a lot of fun with it.
I know it wouldn't beat Dr. Rodknocker, but anyway.
Seriously, Dean.
You heard it here
appreciate
first.
You spending the whole evening with us. It means a lot, man. People have had a ton of fun. We've had a ton of fun, and seriously, we look forward to seeing you at PRI, brother.
Thank you. Hey, everybody, just stay tuned. No Prep Kings, Outlaws, Team TAC. Watch all the shows. Watch NHRA. Anything to do with drag racing. Let's just hype it all up. We're one big happy family. I don't care if it's got radials on it or if it's got training wheels or junior dragster tires. You know what I mean? We're all in this together, man. Let's just have fun and love what we do.
We need to get Dean on here like every Monday night. You got to quit or you're going to get hired.
Is that how it is? Well, you just work out a deal with Dakin where my fat ass can get in that fuel car and I'll talk all night on this son of a bitch.
We're working on it, brother. Thank you, Dean.
All right, you're welcome, bud. Hey,
thanks, brother.
Guys, hey, be careful this weekend. Good luck.
Thanks, buddy.
Where you going, Pomona, right?
Yes, sir.
Good luck, you two out there. Be careful with all those people on the left coast. I know they're dangerous.
Yes, sir. That's a fact.
That is a fact. No, I'm joking.
Clay, you got to tell us. Thanks, Dean. Appreciate you, brother.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Anytime. Do I just hit this leave button?
Yep, I've got you. Yep, see you, buddy.
All right.
I got it. Clay, real quick. Dude, Dean's a superstar.
Oh, that was awesome.
Oh, he's hilarious, dude.
The dude's spectacular. Awesome. Clay, so how you feeling headed into the last one, and we'll let you go.
I tell you what, I'm ready. Cars have actually been really, really good. We ain't been as good as Lyle, but I mean, we've been pretty good. We just got to get the race day dialed in. I'm still like nose running from laughing. I'm sorry.
God, I was crying.
Oh my God.
Shout out to my wife. What do you think? Has pink pumpkin dump cake? It's like pumpkin cobbler. Oh, dude, I'm spoiled rotten out here.
But all good. I mean, I'm ready. I'm ready for Pomona to get here and done and over with. And then in about 2 weeks, I will be ready to go somewhere again. That's how it is. It's like you're used to going, and you stop for maybe a week, maybe two. And then it's like, I got to go somewhere, But I'm ready. I mean, SEMA was awesome. It's just that time of year. I'm already looking forward to the PRI show, to be honest with you.
Same here, man.
We are after
Do you
today.
think I know it's like it's hard to believe that it's already this time of year, like fall into the season. It seems like the last thing I really remember vividly was the 4th of July. You know what I mean? And now it's like Christmas. It's so crazy how that happens, man. But
you can go check out the SEMA show. From my point of view, my YouTube went up today. Lyle's in it. Yep. We talked about a new product that he's working on that'll be
JT. Let's share it. Let's make sure we share it on the page.
Okay, we'll do that.
So Lyle told me about a new product that he's working on because he's winning all these races on hole shots, and so it's all good.
It's an exciting time, man. Clay, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it so much. Lyle, I think we're going to get you for a few minutes Wednesday to talk specifically about the big win in Vegas. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. And JT, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you missing Monday Night Football to be here and talk drag race with us.
What a trooper.
I know, right?
He's a trooper, man. Seriously, but I can speak on behalf of all four of us. We all make our living in the sport of drag racing. And this is fun to do. It's fun to hear Dean's jokes. But the really special thing is all of you guys. The fact that we have all these people watch this and that we get all this comments and I get emails and text messages and we get all these incredible comments, that's really the difference maker. And that's what gives us the platform to do this, to put food on the table. So thank you.
And look at all the different types of racers and sanctions that we have, that just drop in. We talked about that today on our conference call. We talked about our first Drag Illustrated party in Indy at PRI. And, afterwards we were just floored at the different types of racers that we had all in one building. And everybody,
we're proud of
it for the most part. We had a couple.
Well, and had to change venues to accommodate everybody that came, right?
And it's gonna be super kick ass this year.
It's gonna be super kick ass. But it is something that here at Drag Illustrated for the longest time, our initial the reason this magazine exists is because we felt the sport, a high tide lifts all boats. We're stronger together than we are separate, apart, divided. And we just wanted to try to be a galvanizing force in the sport of drag racing to create an environment where Clay Millican is mentioned in the same breath as Lyle Barnett, who's mentioned in the same breath as Dean Karns, who's mentioned in the same breath as Ryan Martin or Big Chief or John Force. If you've rolled through the water and done a burnout, we love you and we appreciate what you do for us and what you've done for yourself. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Remember, Wednesday afternoons, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, the Wes Buck Show. We'll be back live. We've got Mark Powick that's going to join us Wednesday to talk a little bit about this brand new factory experimental class. We expect to hear from Mike Janis Jr. to kind of continue this conversation about Pro Mod and the rules and everything that's going on. Lyle's going to join us for a little while to talk about his big win in Vegas. We got a lot of ground to cover. Who's my other guest? I'm forgetting, JT, we talked about this morning. I'm drawing blank on one of them.
I am too.
Ron Capps. My God. Ron Capps.
Oh, yeah, Ron Capps.
Ron Capps, yeah. NHRA Funny Car Championship contender. Looking like he's got a real shot to seal the deal for the second time in his career this coming weekend in Pomona. So we've got a stacked show for you Wednesday afternoon. Join us. Clay, you be careful getting yourself to California. And I can't wait to hear from you when the dust is settled and you're holding your Wally and you've crushed all those jerks.
I'm ready.
Yeah, good luck this weekend, Clay.
Thank you.
Be
we're
careful
for you,
out
buddy.
there, brother.
We are rooting
We
for
are.
you.
Thanks,
We're 100% rooting for you. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
See you,
Thanks,
everybody.
everybody. See ya.